the show. Which show? This show. It's called...
It's the Overdose Talk Show!
It's the Overdose Talk Show, 10-18-2015er. Andrea and David Box.
Hello.
Yeah.
All right. Nice to have you guys back. Me and Darcy did the show by ourselves last time. It was all right. It was pretty good. But it's nice to have all the old familiar voices back on the show. Matt Geer is going to join us later, who was a staple on the show for a long time. He's got some shit to talk about and some stuff to promote.
Good.
I was going to just mention that I've been having the most prolific dream period of my life. Every time I close my eyes, I am transported to some shitty other world where usually things are horrible. These are usually nightmares that I'm talking about. And I think I've talked about this on the show before, is that I've had a lot of problems with chronic nightmares, and that's kind of one of the reasons I started drinking a lot, was I noticed when I got drunk, I didn't seem to have this problem, you know, and my brain would just turn off and fucking do whatever. And now I've been smoking a lot less weed. I think that's a big thing. And I've been drinking a lot less. And I am just... I dream to the point where it's like when you have these really vivid, crazy, provocative, weird dreams, you don't even feel like you rested. You know, when you get up, You're just like, holy fuck, I'm glad that's over. You know, like maybe now I can calm down a little bit.
Yeah, you wake up and your heart is racing and you're all sweaty.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of kind of dreams where like you do something or kill someone, or like I had a dream that that I cut one of my girlfriend's legs with a sword because she was being a dick. And like it wasn't even an accident. She was just being a dick and she got in my face, so I hit her with a sword, and it was really realistic, and it caused this giant gash and everything. And,
oh my God.
And I had to run, and the police were after me, and the rest of my dream was just hiding and wondering why I did that.
Yeah.
A lot of shit like that. I had a dream, Andrea, that me and you were jumping off these giant, like Dr. Seuss-looking pointy mountains into like a lake kind of thing at the bottom. But we had seen a couple other people do it, so we knew it'd be fine. But we're jumping from like 5,000 feet in the air. Like it was just this really dramatic thing. And then we would hit this lake, and it was the kind of dream where you could breathe underwater, you know, and so we're just kind of swimming around talking to people and exploring shipwrecks and shit like that. So some of them have been cool, but it's like the weirder ones that are just exhausting. Like I've had dreams lately that I killed my ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend with and I don't even know what this guy looks like, but in my dream he was fat.
Nice.
And yeah, and he had a small penis too. And we were I broke into the house, and they were in the shower, and I went in with a moving truck, like a hand truck, you know, one of those little carts, you know. And you know how it has the little lip that you put boxes on, the metal, you know, metal lip at the bottom,
like
whatever.
Ledge.
I fucking hacked them up with that. Ugh. I turned the hand truck upside down and just hacked them to pieces with that fucking metal lip.
No.
Yeah, in like detail, you know, and then had to run.
That's
gotta run.
Yeah.
So I've been going through a lot of fucking mental turmoil, which I guess is to be expected after everything.
Those things are heavy.
Yeah, I know. And in the dream, it was
never use that to kill somebody.
I know. And in my dream, it was like realistically difficult to do. It was like it was hard to raise up, and then it was like slow, you know. And I had to fucking knock him in the head a few times with the wheels and everything, and disorient him, and then just start hacking him with the thing.
Yeah, you had to hit them in the head like right away. Otherwise, they were like getting out of the tub and drying off before you were ready to swing again.
Yeah, but you know, they were like, when I came in, it wasn't really realistic the way they reacted, because they were just standing there nervously laughing. I was like, yeah, I'm here to fucking murder you.
They were like,
yeah, They were kind of just like, oh, what are you doing? And I'm like, killing you with a hand truck, apparently.
Yeah.
Wait, so it was her and this fat guy with a little dick?
Yeah.
Were they naked?
Yes, they were. And
okay.
I hacked them up good. But then I don't know, I've been having a lot of other ones which are like, they seem real, like, easy to interpret, symbolic and stuff. Like, I had one where my dad moved down here to New Orleans, and he was partying with a bunch of people. He's like, all right, I'm going to take off. I'll see you later. And he started walking, and he tripped over, like, a big tree root that was pushing up the sidewalk. And when he tripped, he hit the grass, and he went into, like, a baseball slide, head first baseball slide. So he tripped, started sliding on his stomach with his hands out towards this 10-gallon bucket, which was laying on its side with the opening facing him. And he turned, as he was sliding, into, like, this liquid, just like water. And he went all into the bucket. And so I ran over there, like, as a joke, and turned the bucket up and put a lid on it. I'm like, I got my liquid dad in this bucket now. And and I was carrying it around. This dream went on, and I was carrying it around, and people were like, what's in that bucket? I'm like, I got my dad in here. It's hilarious. He turned into water. He can't get out now. We put the lid on, and everybody was laughing.
I've been waiting for this day.
But like, in your dream, people are laughing in this way of like, oh yeah, that's good. Like that nothing was weird about that. They're just like, oh, that's pretty funny,
like,
dude.
That happens to everybody.
I'd do that shit to my dad. And then, yeah, the way that whole dream culminated was I went into a store and set it on the ground, and some girl asked what it was, and she didn't believe me that it was my dad in there. And I said, watch this. And I took the lid off the bucket, and he sprang out in this, like, big Grim Reaper style, like, Halloween costume, and just scared the shit out of everybody in the store, and they all started screaming and running away and everything. And I was just standing there laughing. But this is what's been going on for me every night, just shit like that. And they're so fucking vivid. And I don't know if I just clogged my, like, neurological pathways with THC for so long that then when I had to cut back, really only for financial reasons, I were not able to smoke as much. And it's like my brain catching up with like 15 years of dreams that it didn't get to do, constantly. If I close my eyes for 40 minutes right now and take a nap, I will live fucking 8 years in a dream,
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it?
I had another one where we're getting abducted by alien. Like, there's a lot of ones that I would never even talk about because they were so horrifying. But just a lot of shit. It just makes you feel like you've been in some other world for years. And then you wake up just like, and it's hard to comprehend that it's only been a few hours. And sometimes I'll even ask questions of my significant other. I'll say, what town are we in? Have we been here the whole night? Has anything weird happened? Like, no, you're fucking dreaming. Like, are you sure we didn't get abducted by aliens and you just don't remember? It just seems so fucking real.
Like, really think about it before you answer me.
Yeah, because and
yeah.
And then I start to wonder if the people in my dreams, because you see like everyone when you're having these like weird vivid dreams, there's just always people
Mm-hmm.
and I start wondering, like, I wonder if they were having that same dream. So I've just been asking people weird questions. It's not doing much for my reputation for being insane right now. But yeah, that hasn't played out. I guess it's all actually just happening in my head.
Well, I have, and myself included, but I know a lot of people who have also been having like weird, crazy, vivid dreams lately.
Really?
The moon, there was I had a whole big conversation with like 4 people about a week and a half ago about how crazy our dreams have been. I even had the same dream as another person, not on the same night, but like we both revealed at the same time that we had the same dream as each other.
Doesn't count if it's not on the same night.
No.
No.
Say
Go ahead. What the fuck was that?
The dog tripped on a cord that triggered something on my phone.
All
Sorry.
right. Go ahead, Andrew. Sorry.
It's weird. But the dream was that we were both chewing too much gum, and that we like kept taking gum out of our mouth, and there would still be more gum in there, and it would be like way too big of a piece of gum for a person to be chewing.
Wow, that's exciting.
Well, see, it's just such a weird, weird dream to have at the same time as someone.
That's funny that you mentioned that. Was it Big League Chew by any chance? Because
it was.
One of my dreams was that I was just stuffing Big League Chew into my mouth and chewing giant wads of Big League Chew, and then getting sick of it real quick and getting more. What a pointless fucking dream. What is my brain doing? Yeah, like I need to really sort through some shit up here. So you go to sleep. I'm gonna put your psyche back together. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna chew fucking gum and hack people up with hand trucks. Yeah. Your dad's gonna turn into water. You're gonna think it's a prank. And how is this helping me? What the fuck is my brain doing?
Yeah, it used to creep me out. That's why, and I know I've talked about it on the show before, but that's why I became so consumed with trying to control my dreams for such a long time. Because I felt like I was missing out on a lot of stuff. All I really wanted to ever do was start remembering my dreams better. But it ended up making me aware of dreams while I was in them. And then that was weird because you can manipulate your reality.
Oh, sure.
And then I wake up, and half the time I wake up and I'm a little freaked out by it. And the other half the time I wake up and I'm like, why can't I do this all the time? And it seems weird to me that my brain would shut down and I lose that time in my life,
Yeah, man.
My brain's not the boss of me.
But what if that's reality and what you think is being awake is the dream? Oh. The
weird thing, though, is...
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay.
Fuck you, God.
The weird thing, though, is if I'm having a violent dream and I know it's a dream, I usually can't take control of it, though. If it's a violent dream, it's stronger than I am every time.
I was going to just say, since I didn't mention, we are doing the show via Skype again. I'm down in New Orleans, and Andrea and David Box are up in Chicago. Darcy might join us later, and we do have the call from Matt Geer coming up. But we should get into some shit and stop talking about dreams. I think dreams are more fun to talk about on your own than they are for other people to listen to. Sure, none of that made any sense.
All right.
We got this video, and I don't mean to just cut it off because you started talking about your dreams and I was bored of it all immediately. It's like, that dream sucks, doesn't count. Let's get into the show.
Sure.
What was the deal with this mysterious city spotted floating in the clouds above China? I guess scientists or should I say scientists are saying it was a mirage caused by light refraction that caused hundreds, if not over 1,000 people, I guess they're saying, to have witnessed firsthand this city appearing in the sky over China. What do you know about it, Andrea?
Yeah, even though thousands of people claim to have seen it, there's only one video of it. So I will share the video. You guys can search city appears in the sky if you want to find it. But did you watch it? It actually looks... I don't know. I don't understand how this could be a mirage. There seem to be straight lines. It looks like a silhouette of structures.
Well,
but
they use the term mirage sometimes to describe light refraction, which I was getting into with the whole flat Earth debate, which they'll say, this isn't actually a thing physically sitting where it appears that it is, but it is just like a reflective, mirror image somehow. So I don't think a mirage necessarily means that it's all wavy and weird like a typical mirage over the or when you see water on the road that's not there or whatever, caused by heat and stuff like that. I think this is a different type of thing, right?
Yeah, it seems to be. It must be. See, nobody has a decent explanation for it, though. I mean, they say, yeah, it's a mirage or it's caused by the refraction of light, but they don't really explain why it looks like a city, or if we're seeing a different city that's in the distance and the light is being bent in such a way that it's floating. I mean, Nobody really explains it in detail.
I've been trying to learn about light refraction lately, and there's just a giant learning curve. It's like I have to look up 50 fucking things to explain to myself one paragraph when I'm reading about it. And I never realized, I guess I never had any reason to think about it, but light is so, it can be affected really, really, it can be affected really a lot by I just realized why even try to salvage that sentence like I was going to sound intelligent. It can be affected by density, air density and stuff like this. And I guess that's one of the reasons you can see, like, if you're looking from the shore of Michigan, on Lake Michigan, if you're on the Michigan side, you can oftentimes see the Chicago skyline. I've seen it myself. And flat earthers will say, this is impossible according to the round earth formula, and the curvature of the earth would dictate that the tops of these skyscrapers should be well below the horizon. And they're saying, well, that's clearly evidence that the earth is flat and you can see way further than you say you should be able to. But according to science, this is an effect. And especially, I got into this because especially over water, I guess, the conditions can be made that you can see around the bend of the earth because of the way that your eyes are, when you're seeing, your eyes are just interpreting light, right? That are hitting your fucking part of your eye that does this.
Yeah,
and,
your pupil.
Yeah, whatever. And so when you get, and I do understand that light can bend. We've talked a lot about that on the show, and you guys understand that, right? So
yes,
that's the whole scientific principle here with being able to see further than you should supposedly be able to see, with the curvature of the earth, is that you're actually seeing refracted light beams that are bending due to the density of the air. It's all these other conditions. But I'm not going to pretend that I really understand it that well.
Yeah. So many things, and I didn't realize also how many things could affect light, even temperature.
Right.
Can
Yeah.
affect it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this could have appeared on a bizarre temperature day, this floating city, and it caused a light refraction that had never happened before just because of the temperature and the way the air was moving and,
Other people are speculating that a giant city was teleported or maybe reflected from another dimension. It's fun to think about, but why would there be why would aliens bring a city here? They got ships and convenient things going on. I just don't see the need to just have a city in the sky all of a sudden. I see some I don't know, I think it's got to be some weird fucking trick of the light, it would seem. But this is big. It's been getting shared everywhere. Sorry, I was just going to say, we do have a Chinese news clip, which is pretty hilarious. I could play that in a minute. We'll get nothing out of that other than just looking at the cartoony, cluttered screen and hearing this lady speak that fucking awful language.
It's being tied to Project Bluebeam too.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to say
with
and
large scale holograms.
Yeah, we should have said that right from the top, because that is something that's way less far-fetched than it sounds. This technology that's associated with Project Bluebeam was developed decades ago, or at least being researched, 30, 40 years ago, trying to figure out how maybe we could get a military advantage in the Middle East. I think was the original idea, by projecting a picture of Muhammad into the sky and shit like that. They've been working on this for a really long time, and we've seen in the past few years all kinds of weird stuff in the skies that doesn't make sense. Remember the sky swirls that we were looking at?
Oh yeah,
and they just looked like a portal, like an interdimensional portal from a movie, just opening up in the sky.
Almost cartoonish.
And those were things that got completely ignored by most of the media, but they were witnessed like this, hundreds of people at a time, a bunch of different videos of the same phenomenon from different locations and shit. You know what I mean? It was pretty well documented as real phenomenon. So we've seen all kinds of shit like that in the skies. And a lot of people are then going to bring it back to, don't forget the one world government agenda of convincing the entire Earth populace that there's an outside threat, So it could be part of a larger plan like that too.
Yeah. And this would be the perfect conditions for testing it, too. If it was cloudy and they're trying to test projections and figure out how to make something appear from the clouds, that would make sense since it was a really cloudy day, too.
Right. And then it ties into HARP and according to, if you get into this stuff, this is going to tie into HARP and weather control programs because they need to put the right conditions in the sky to be able to project on it. It's all tied to that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm sold.
Jesse Ventura would be very interested. I want to hear what these Chinese have to say about it.
What if?
Well, that's enough of that. It went to an ad after a few seconds, but I just want to play that crazy language. So this was on, but that was on, mainstream news in China.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if we'll get any more videos or photos or any other evidence comes out from any of these thousands of...
What's going on with Pluto, too? Speaking of weird stuff in the sky, and we'll just keep doing space stuff, I guess, right now. The liars at NASA are spreading some rumors about Pluto. Did you look into this?
Yeah, and they seem to only be rumors right now. Okay, so the rumor that's going around is that Pluto is going to explode.
Mm-hmm. That's what I heard.
But I couldn't find any actual scientific evidence to back that up.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, a probe recently sent a lot of information back about Pluto, none of which indicates that it has a rising pressure system inside of it.
Well, and things like this tend to spread quick, end of days predictions and things like this. But the thing that stuck out to me right off the bat was like, why would a whole planet explode instead of doing something like a volcano happens on the Earth? You know what I mean? Like we have all this pressure building below the tectonic plates, but we don't assume that the planet's going to explode. We just know it's going to cause an eruption somewhere.
Yeah.
Why would that not happen?
Yeah. and like Pluto is a small planet, but it's not like small enough that it's just going to burst into nothing. It's got moons. It's got they are kind of concerned with the surface is reshaping. It's got like an icy surface.
Okay.
And the surface of the planet itself is shaping, but they say that it's caused by one of its giant moons. But nothing about either one of those planets exploding. So this was that rumor mongers.
The New Horizons satellite or whatever. And like we've been over time and time again, NASA just has no credibility with a lot of stuff, and you can't really just take what they say at face value.
Yeah.
You have to always look into stuff a little bit deeper with them. But so that's the rumor. It doesn't appear to be all that much to it. But there's this other strange star. And I guess this star, I got to find the name of it because it's, let's see, KIC. Oh, whoops. Somebody calling in. KIC, let's see, 8462852 is the name of the star. A distant star with a very unusual flickering habit. Something was making the star dim drastically every few years. And so I guess they picked up on this years ago, and scientists have kind of been watching this thing and trying to figure out what's going on with it. And now they've discovered a ring of mass. In orbit.
It's like a cluster.
Yeah, like a cluster of some kind of mass that they can't figure out what it is. But I guess their early projections on it, the density doesn't make a whole lot of sense. According to the age of the star, anything orbiting it would have densified way more. And they're really puzzled as to how something, I guess, of this density is orbiting the star. And it seems to just be consistent where it is. So they're, of course, people are proposing this could be some sort of artificial structure, but let's see. Oh, it's our dad calling in. I think he's probably going to want to talk about Pluto. Hello?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on?
Well, I'd like to clarify something about Pluto.
Okay.
That I may have made that whole thing up. Because...
We got a rotten tip.
Well, I was thinking about it, and I saw something about Pluto, and then, may have speculated about it blowing up.
What does that mean?
They had said that there was a certain
Take your
there
time,
could be
please.
some bad implications for the Earth because of what they found out about Pluto.
Mm-hmm.
And I just speculated that Pluto might be blowing up, They said that on the news.
All right.
That was just your best
Well,
guess.
thanks for the clarification. I got to go to our next caller here.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
See you
fun
around,
talking
Pops.
to you.
All right. Bye.
Hey kids, what I miss?
Hey, it's Matt Geer.
Hey, Matt Geer.
Nothing. We're talking about the star KIC 8462852, a distant star with very unusual flickering habits. Andrea, what else about this? We're talking about how they've discovered a ring of some kind of mass that they can't identify around the star that I guess doesn't make sense to a lot of the astronomers and stuff.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem
this-
like a natural collection of space shit.
Right.
What's
Who's,
this? Things going on in
manufactured.
space that us little Earthlings just can't understand?
Yeah.
This is news. Like,
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, this is
Right.
kind of being latched onto by astronomers who've made it their life goal to find alien life and evidence of alien life.
Planet
However,
hunters.
yeah.
Planet
However,
hunters, they're called,
Tabitha-
Andrea. But also, wasn't there a lot, like this star also from years ago, wasn't there a lot of speculation that it could conceivably have Earth-like planets around it too? That's what I thought I read.
That I don't know about.
I'll see if I can
I
find that.
do
I thought
know
I
that,
remembered reading that.
Tabitha
I would not be
Boyajian,
surprised.
the scientist who did years of research on the star, submitted for publication a report about it that didn't even mention the possibility of of alien structures. And her leading hypothesis is that it is a swarm of colliding comets around the star. And she thinks that that's unusual and interesting enough that she doesn't understand why people are trying to make it about aliens.
Is she the one that concluded that the way they observe it, something weird must be blocking the light, as that's why it's like flickering strangely? I think that's the same lady.
Yeah, she said it was comet clusters
Okay.
colliding. A swarm of colliding comets, she calls it.
But that's the other thing is like, the way a lot of academia works is they're only going to look for solutions that fit their science.
Yeah.
So she
no,
later
Well, at
admitted.
this point, though, in our, let me ask this: what would it take to convince people that there are, in fact, aliens? Like, other than one literally walking up to them and being like, "Hi, I'm obviously a real alien somehow."
Do you know what it is? I'll tell you exactly what it is. For most people, it's about having been confirmed by some sort of major media source. And I think that's all it is, because if you get into this topic, after a couple of years, you're going to be convinced that there's something going on. I mean, there's too much shit. There's too much evidence and too much weird stuff that, you're probably going to get convinced by something or another that there are these other life forms, and they could be interdimensional or from the Earth or whatever the millions of different theories there are. But something
or
is
all
going.
the above. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, and something is
it's
going on
a vast
here.
universe, and we keep finding out it's even more and more vast.
But I think
what you guys were talking about, it doesn't even matter, because it's like we can't get there or anything. We're not going to be able to explore this shit, I'm assuming, for probably within the lifetime of our planet. So, like, what would it take to convince, if the goal is to convince people that there's other life out there, like, what does it even take at this point?
I
mean,
think
there
like
obviously is.
It's for most people, they're just not going to believe it until it's on TV. Even
right,
though
basically,
Yeah.
it's true because TV told me so. Now,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
even though like there's all these fucking shows now that are trying to convince you left and right that aliens have been here and interfered with human DNA and you know what I mean, all the ancient alien stuff and everything. But then
Yeah.
when they present it on like a news station or whatever, it's always this Something strange spotted in the sky.
Right, it's a
Could it be
fucking joke.
visitors from another world? We'll find out. And it's just
But
this
even
real
those
mocking
shows
tone,
like
you know.
do kind of a fucking crackpot, like wacky take on it.
Oh,
too.
I
Like,
know.
They don't just present fact. They're all like, "Is it this?" And a lot of their shit is way far fetched. It's like you're reaching. You don't have to reach. There's evidence.
Yeah, there's some great.
You know what I mean? But like they still do that, where like they leave the question open. It's almost like another form of like propaganda to keep you thinking that it's crackpot shit. You know?
Yeah, the Ancient Aliens crowd has lost a lot of credibility with most people that look into this stuff, just because they run with anything that seems to fit their hypothesis. And it like there's a good debunking that I've seen about how they'll always show say it's like I forget the one that I'm referring to specifically, but it might have been Egyptian or Sumerian or something. These hieroglyphs that it really clearly looks like a spaceship and a spaceman or something, you know. But then they go,
Right. And there's that Mayan guy that they always show.
well, I know, but then
That's
they'll take
also like a hieroglyph of like a guy sitting in a cockpit.
right. I know, all right, but so if you take like the one that I'm talking about, somebody said, you know what this is? This is just places where they overlapped and some of the thing rubbed away over time, and it coincidentally ended up looking like this. But here's what it originally looked like, and scientists know this, and it's very common hieroglyphs, you know, and it's like there's no mystery to it, but it kind of looks like a spaceship, so let's run with it on History Channel fucking 80
Right.
times in the same episode.
Well, History Channel is like a joke. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I could
they've,
go into that. Like, it's
they've
like
really
not
devolved.
history. It's become like really weird now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never had cable really, like until I was like and I only had it for a brief period. So I don't know if it was ever any better. I can't say, but I can't imagine that that's how the History Channel always was.
Yeah, no, I think it used to be really dry documentaries all the time, and it was just all
Right, I'd prefer
World War
that.
II and shit like that. But anyways, let's move on. Matt Geer, it's good to have you back on the show.
Yes, I was calling in to shamelessly promote my show to anybody in the Chicagoland area on Devil's Night, the day before Halloween, which I believe is a Friday night this year, and I have an event where Hot Lips Messiah will be playing, and I will be there selling prints and art and doing tarot card readings with regular cards, because that's how I know how to do it.
Cool.
But it's for entertainment purposes only, and I'll be there. And I just wanted to promote that. It's at a place called Buckle Down Tap, which is a really kick-ass brewery in Lyons. I don't know the address offhand, but it's easy to find.
Cool. All right, so go check out Matt Geer, brilliant artist and interesting guy. Go out and support that event. But you wanted to gripe about the war on Halloween, if I remember right.
Yes, I do. Yes, Halloween is now like drenched in a candy coating of Disney bullshit that I think is a to take the scariness out of Halloween. You know, like.
And so
I
you're
think you want to put a razor blade in an apple and give it away. Like,
you're
bring
basically
back the scariness.
you're basically unhappy that children are having too much innocent fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give like severed rat heads away, I think, this year to a few shitty kids that don't dress up enough.
Did you hear about this? Let's see. From New York Daily News. Is that a good site, Andrea? Rebecca Cade, 31, was trying to flee her suspected killer when her sleeve caught on a barbed wire fence. Her body was later found hanging there, but I guess in the meantime, a bunch of people thought it was a Halloween decoration. So it hung.
Well, if she had a gun,
Yeah.
she could have shot her way out of the situation somehow.
It hung for a few days before anyone realized it was a real body.
Yeah, this is real.
Cool.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
And let's see. It was straight out of a horror story, Tammy Dixon said. I don't know if she told WCPO TV. Rebecca Cade's sleeve had apparently become caught while trying to climb over the barbed wire fence bordering, I don't know how you say this fucking town, Chillicothe or whatever. Chillicothe. The struggling 31-year-old mom who had past run-ins with the law reportedly died there after suffering blunt force trauma to her face and head. She got caught on She got caught on the fence and got fucking murdered. That sucks. A bloody rock was found nearby. This killer just had no plan.
Wow.
Like, it took his victim getting caught on a fence, and then all he had was a rock.
I think
that's
he,
tunistic
like her
killer.
ex-boyfriend or something.
Right, like, well, I guess I could just kill this lady, too. I could help her out of this fence, or, geez, I could just bash her head with this rock and leave.
Yeah, someone
and he
different
chose to
came along
bash
and
her head and...
put her out
let's
of her
see.
misery.
Well, my friend Bob just told me a
poor thing
similar
strapped
story
in a
about her
web.
friend Matt Waters, who hung himself on, like, around Halloween, a couple days before Halloween, and it was in, like, the yard, and nobody noticed for, like, hours and hours and hours. It didn't hang there for more than a day or anything, but the cops were like, wow, I feel bad because I, like, drove by it and, like, was like, man, that's badass, and, like, it didn't, like, notice that it was actually a person for a long time.
What a realistic dummy that is.
Right, they were like, wow, that is kick-ass, that is some badass Halloween decor.
Wait.
See, that's what I mean, back to the whole, like, war on Halloween. Like, you can't, like, in some neighborhoods, you can't, they, like, are like, oh, that's too, like, fucked up, you can't have that on your lawn if it's like, too gory or, like,
Or
whatever,
if it's an
you know?
actual dead body. Or they're really trying to clean that shit up. Which is
Yeah,
not
that
fair.
happened,
That sucks the fun out of it. I remember there being more tricks around
And
Halloween. You know, like,
murders.
well, people used to put up decorations because, like, kids would fuck up your decorations when I was a kid anyway, we did. And, like, people would put up shit that had, like, booby traps in it. Did any of that ever happen to you?
I don't remember it, but I do remember there being a couple of times we would run into the thing that you thought was a dummy but was actually a person dressed up like a dummy, you know, and they would scare the shit out of you when you would
rip this dummy down that was hanging that somebody had, like somebody hung themselves, kind of going back to that, and
Yeah.
it was made to rip open in the half, and, like, it poured out, like, salsa or something on him, and he got, like, a lot of it in his eyes, and it really stung and shit, and we were like, see, they, like, booby trapped it.
That's pretty funny.
Because they knew somebody was going to,
Yeah.
it was, like, an attractive nuisance, and they knew somebody was going to pull at it, and, like this face full of, like, disco sauce and shit.
Nice. I like
Tricks.
that.
More tricks on Halloween.
Right, okay, I see what you're
Yeah.
going for. Yeah, so it's become a little too
Not that Halloween's not scary enough.
it's become a little too bubblegum for Matt Geer though.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they don't let the kids out at night anymore. Like, the kids are ringing my doorbell at fucking noon now. It's like, no, kids, it's not dark yet. Like,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to be out trick-or-treating until, like, it gets dark.
Yeah,
Like,
seriously.
we used to wait till dusk.
If you can't hack it after dark, then you got no fucking business getting free candy. The fuck?
Right?
Sack up and go
I have
out there.
no patience for kids that do not dress up and come to my door and think they're going to get candy, or their costume is just fucking majorly, like, weak. I, like, straight up don't give those kids shit, and, like, this year I'm thinking of giving them a trick. Like I said, like, I should get go down to the pet shop and get some of those dead feeder mice,
Okay.
and, like, just throw those in their fucking little Halloween bags.
Yeah, and then when they're all scared from that, like before they have time to react, you fucking inject them in the neck with heroin. Get them addicted to heroin.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good trick.
Goes
Good
without
trick.
saying.
All right.
You've
well,
done this before.
yeah, and then you start selling heroin. You see where I'm going?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.
Yes.
You'll be rich.
We got
I would love to
to
hear what the neighborhood moms and dads would have to say to me.
just thank you.
It'd be like
Our
the
kid
real
was
life Freddy Krueger story, like.
They're gonna say thank you
Nightmare
because their
Widow
kid was fucking
Springs.
annoying, and you got him to calm down. Like, we never thought of heroin. This is a good idea, Matt Geer.
You're a genius.
Now all they do is shoot heroin and eat dead mice. They're fucking out of the way, and we
Yeah, they come and ask where they can get more dead mice.
yeah.
They think that's the trick.
That's just the code. We all know.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I do want to trick the kids somehow though, if I can. Realistically, I don't know.
We
The
gotta.
ones that don't dress up and shit, they deserve some kind of comeuppance. But I can't actually do anything that, like, will get me in trouble either. So I don't know. I've been thinking on that. Like, how can I get these kids?
You put the mice
I
in
might-
cans and reseal them so that the kids don't know that you played a trick until they get home, and then they won't know who gave them the mouse.
And then one
No, I could get in trouble still. No, realistically, I'm just thinking of like hosing these kids in silly string or something, because they need to get their comeuppance if they don't dress up, man.
Or
Like
just
that is seriously where I draw the line.
hide up on
And
the
I said
roof
this
and
last
piss on
year
them when they come to the
when
door.
those kids were showing up, I was like, "What? Your costumes? What? Like, that's weak." You know what I mean? Like, don't show up to Matt Geer's doorstep asking for candy in some fucking weak fucking costume. Like.
And then once in a
Put some
while you
effort
switch
into
it
that.
up and you have a syringe full of mouse blood that you inject them with just to see what happens. I want to...
AIDS infested.
Yeah. I want to do a few more stories. Do you want to hang out on the phone with us, Matt?
It's crackling up a lot, so
Yeah.
I did paint since we were talking, so I was like, well, I'll call in and then I'll get back to this shit.
All right, that's okay.
I'm
We
gonna
can...
get back to work, but thanks for letting me promote and bitch about my disappointment in modern Halloweens.
That's cool, man. Real quick, give the date and location of your next event.
Yes,
again.
once again, it is at the Buckle Down Tap, and it's a really cool brewery in Lyons, Illinois. I don't have the address offhand.
People can
that's
look
really
it up.
unprofessional of me.
And it's October
and it is
30th.
on Devil's Night,
Okay.
which is this month, October 30th. The
All right.
night before Halloween. It is a Friday.
Go out and...
Hot Lips Messiah, once again, check out my friends. Hot Lips Messiah, fucking notorious punk rock, Chicago. They've been around for a long time. Check them out, for
Cool.
real.
All right, go out and support, and we'll talk to you soon, Matt Geer. Thanks for calling in.
It's a free show, I believe, too.
All right, shut up. We'll see you later.
Bye.
all right.
All right, bye.
Thank you much. I'll be in contact.
Goodbye.
Over and out.
I tried to use the hang up and dial tone sound effect, but it totally didn't work. Andrea, what's going on with this paranormal investigator claims to have captured evidence of a black-eyed ghost child for the first time?
Yeah.
Although I
on
checked
video.
out the video, and I have no idea how they could speculate as to the color of the eyes of the apparition they caught. They're calling this
Well,
an apparition because it appears to be creating its own light, basically, right? It appears to be a humanoid, ghostly figure with its own light source.
yeah, that's what's interesting about it is that it couldn't be a person walking as light is coming off of it instead of hitting it. It has its own. So they speculate it's the black-eyed an apparition of the world because they're in woods rumored to be haunted by a very specific ghost.
Right, okay, so...
Two of them, two young children.
This was from a murder back in 1967 where Raymond Leslie Morris, and this is over in England, right? Cannock Chase, Staffordshire, where Raymond Leslie Morris murdered 7-year-old Christine Darby and I guess a couple other kids, right?
Yes.
They think that he was the main suspect in the murder of 2 other young girls in the area, and ever since it is believed that their souls have haunted the woods in this beautiful spot. So... this guy, have you guys both seen the video, right?
Yes.
It does look pretty weird. It does look like a weird apparition that has its own light source. I'll give him that.
Yeah, it definitely looks like something that's shining light. And I could see how it could look like a human figure kind of walking off in the distance.
Yeah.
I can see that. It's not super clear. But they even alter the footage a little bit and up the contrast and it's pretty clear. I mean, there's something out there.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool video. How can people find it? I guess the guy's name is Tom Buckmaster, the paranormal investigator. So this area, people have reported a bunch of times seeing black-eyed children, but that's not the same as an apparition. You know, all the reports of black-eyed children that come in from around the world are that they look to be regular children in every other way other than their eyes are completely solid black, and they tend to make people extremely fearful, you know, and they say weird things. If you're not familiar with the topic, there's hundreds of stories, you know, that people claim these kids came up to their door and started asking weird questions. They could come inside and have food and saying they're cold and whatever, you know. And when they look up, they realize their eye is just like one giant, black pupil. So this is pretty common.
Yeah.
In this kind of, when you're looking into this kind of stuff, you'll see a lot of the black-eyed children stories. So I don't see how that associates with this video at all.
I guess it's just the area. They said a lot of other weird things happened on this investigation too. They could hear running on the footpath behind them. A rock was from behind them and through the group.
A rock was thrown. You're cutting out. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, like a rock was rolled through where they were standing.
Okay.
Like somebody had picked it up and rolled around. They had a spirit box where they caught a bunch of voices saying things like, "We're watching, we're looking, he's coming." So I guess it must be a really active area.
A spirit box, for anyone who's unfamiliar, is just like a high-frequency rapid scanner that just basically works with radio waves and tries to pick out messages that cross dimensions. So they had a bunch of hits on that thing, and whatever. Seems like a pretty exciting little investigation they had.
Yeah, it sounds pretty scary. So check out the video. You guys can let us know what you think.
How do they find it?
It looks like a ghost to me.
The Cannock Chase, Cannock Chase, Staffordshire ghost video. I guess that's how you do it.
Yeah, and the group is called Haunted Finders.
It's a shitty name.
Search for that too.
Haunted Finders?
Yeah.
Why are they so terrible at speaking English in England?
Haunted Finders.
Yeah. All right. Well, what else we got in this realm? We got the Coney Island UFO.
Oh yeah, we've got a UFO. Some photos.
A New York street photographer driving to Coney Island. Driving to Coney Island reported capturing a disc-shaped object while taking rapid fire images of a bridge, according to testimony in case 70617 from the MUFON database. The witness was with 3 friends on his way to pick up another friend. I was carrying my camera with me, he says. At the time, I shot with a Fujifilm X-T1 and had it on machine gun mode for rapid shots. We were passing by the bridge as I decided to just rapid fire some shots of the bridge freehand, and I did not have my eyesight on the viewfinder. This is not a particularly reliable sighting, considering that he's crossing a bridge and taking rapid fire shots and catches this little line of lights in one of them. What do you think?
Yeah, well, he actually captured it in 4 of them.
Oh, okay.
The other 3 were not backed up and erased from his computer when it crashed. Conveniently.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
So this is the only one that he has of this. But it does. I mean, if you look at it, it does appear to look like a disc. It even kind of looks like it rounds around the edges the way the lights are.
Yeah, it's all right.
Are you looking at it?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
That shape is atypical for any motion blur thing. It doesn't look like it's.
It does not
motion blur.
Does not look like a motion blur.
It's like captured in anything like that.
Okay.
Good to know.
Why is that? Just because it's not streaky or anything? It looks like a pretty solid deal.
Yeah, he's asking you.
Oh, sorry. Can you say again?
What makes you confident that it's not a motion blur? Or is it because it's not streaky and it looks sectioned, or
the way it's sectioned and it's symmetrical? That's.
Oh, the symmetry is what.
Yeah, buying a bridge and taking rapid motion things, you would see on one of those sides, but because it's symmetrical, it doesn't seem it's what it would be.
Okay.
Yeah, he also said that the 3 photos that were deleted appeared to show it moving across the frame as well, suggesting movement across the sky of the object.
Gotcha. All right, well, not much else we can do with that one. That's the Coney Island UFO. You guys can check that out on your own.
Coney Island light strip.
Coney Island light strip. It's all right. It's okay.
It's a UFO.
Okay.
Do we have anything else in this realm?
Jesus, Andrea.
I think we did all of our.
A UFO armada?
There's one more. I'm sorry?
UFO armada passing over Bakersfield, California.
Yeah, I just found that one.
There's
There's no photos of this, though. It's just a story.
Oh, okay. Fuck. All right. Well, UFO news always sucks. And this one, UFO.
So I would like to.
Well, there's another one. UFO changes shape and disappears over small Indiana town.
Oh yeah.
An Indiana witness at Hebron reported watching metallic oval-shaped objects that one object that seemed to turn into a rectangle and soon disappeared. That's another just MUFON report. So that's what's going on this week in UFOs.
Yeah. There's also a very large hoax UFO series of photos that's floating around the internet right now. It appears to show an overcast sky with like a translucent giant disc. Almost like overlaid in the sky.
Okay.
It is a hoax. There's like 4 or 5 of them from reportedly, but they're not real, so don't be fooled.
And of course, disclosed.tv and all those Facebook pages are just sharing it as though it's fact constantly, I'm sure.
Right, yeah, exactly. They're a couple of them are very convincing, but they're not real.
Nothing to those.
Our photos analyzed them for us. He was pretty sure. So
They used the same picture of.
you gotta get closer.
They used the same picture of one disc in every single one of those.
Yeah, it's like it's from the same angle and everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's obvious then. Scientists think they know how to test the parallel universes theory. Andrea, this is a story I think you found. The existence of parallel universes may seem like something cooked up by science fiction writers with little relevance to modern theoretical physics. This is from sciencealert.com. But the idea that we live in a multiverse made up of an infinite number of parallel universes has long been considered a scientific possibility, although it's still a matter of vigorous debate among physicists. The race is now on to find a way to test the theory, including searching the sky for signs of collisions with other universes. So what do you got on this?
So the idea is that they are using string theory, predictions made by to measure imprints on the cosmos where universes may have collided.
Okay.
They're saying that they say that when universes collide, which based on quantum mechanics would absolutely happen at one time or another, they would leave signatures in the cosmic sky. So the details of the signatures depend on the models. They could be hot or cold spots in the microwave background, anomalous. Basically, any anomalies are now being investigated in a way to see if it's an imprint of a pre-existing universe colliding with our universe.
Okay. Yeah, we've talked a lot about this on the show, and it's just really hard to understand.
Yeah, there's a lot behind it. So first you have to understand.
Well, first, I was just going to read this part. For string theory to work mathematically, it requires at least 10 physical dimensions. Since we can only observe 4 dimensions, the extra dimensions of string theory must therefore be hidden somehow if it is to be correct. To be able to use a theory to explain the physical phenomena we see, these extra dimensions have to be compactified by being curled up in such a way that they are too small to be seen. Perhaps for each point in our large 4 dimensions, there exists 6 extra indistinguishable directions. Yikes.
Yeah. This is something that I've been trying to wrap my head around for a long time. So if you want to start thinking about dimensions existing in our universe, you have to imagine, like, usually what they use is strength, which is you have height, width, length, and then strength would be the 4th dimension coming out.
Okay.
The figure. So, like, if you look in the corner of the room,
hold on. You are cutting out a lot. Is there anything you can do to get? Was it just the Skype connection?
You're cutting out a lot too.
All right, so it's just the Skype connection. I think
it's just the Skype, yeah, because you're cutting out too.
All right, after this, we'll take a break and try to. We'll hang up and have you call back and see if we get a better connection. But go ahead, we'll finish this story up.
If you look of a room where the ceiling meets the 2 walls and you see the 3 lines that meet.
Yeah.
And a perpendicular angle. Imagine a fourth line coming from that corner that also forms a perpendicular angle with the corner.
Okay.
And that would be strength.
Okay, gotcha.
And so if you can kind of is what that is, then once you understand that concept, you can add a fifth of dimension and then a sixth, and you can kind of see how dimensions could build on each other and exist within one another.
So basically they found a way
like
to test this in the physical realm that we can understand, though. Right? Okay.
Yes.
That's what this whole story's about.
Yeah. Like those things are making impressions in ways that we're finally learning to measure.
Right, where the overlaps in the dimensions do happen, they should leave some sort of imprint.
Right.
Okay.
So
All right.
it's it's tough to understand, but I'm gonna keep trying.
What is the microwave in the cosmic microwave background? The afterglow of the Big Bang, I guess.
Yeah, that's like the entire outer space is built with microwaves and radio waves and various energies floating around in it, and they're able to map them using certain instruments so they can detect microwaves kind of on a grid or in real space and measure how they interact with physical structures and non-physical structures, gravity, and what happens
Okay.
far away from us.
So right now they're in the stage of just proposing, hey, if string theory is real and works, we're going to come up with things that we should be seeing. Right now they're still on that stage where they're trying to figure out, hey, what can we look for to test string theory, basically. But they're just theorizing that you can.
Right.
All right,
Yes,
interesting.
Yeah. And we'll have to stay on this.
Yeah, they go into gravitational
They're-
waves, which are ripples in space-time as massive objects pass through. Such waves could directly prove the existence of inflation, which ultimately strengthens the support of the multiverse theory. So I think it's like a giant science brainstorm that's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not like the brain drizzle that we're doing on our show.
Yeah.
Far from a storm.
Brain leaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a fucking brain sprinkling going on. So let's head to a break and try to refresh this call and see if we get some better results. We will be back shortly here on the Overdose Talk Show. Stick with us, thank you. Whoa, holy shit, the music just ran out and I just got back in my seat. You guys here? Hello?
Yeah.
All right, none of us
Yeah,
were
we're
ready.
here.
I guess that was a quick break. Let's get back to the show. You sound
Yeah.
better.
All right.
I think
cool.
sometimes with Skype you just have to like refresh the call or something. I don't know. So
Yeah.
sounds all right now. Let's go for it. Where were we?
Good. I want to talk about Elisa Lam.
Oh, the Elisa Lam case. We did it on the
Remember
show
her?
many months ago now, and it was I think it was one of Unsolved mystery expert David Box's Unsolved Mysteries, and this was surveillance video of a girl. Do you remember where she was?
No, but I'll find out real quick.
It was a surveillance video of an Asian girl, probably in her early 20s, I think, and
Yeah, she was a...
it basically showed her going in and out of this elevator, and it seemed like she was talking to someone who wasn't there, and she's making all these weird gestures. Very creepy video that made the rounds on the internet quite a bit because it was just sort of unexplained. There's all this surveillance video of her going in and out of the elevator and looking around and seeming to like gesture and talk to someone, but there's no one there. And I think she ended up on the roof, and they found her body in like some water tank on the roof of it was in a hotel, right?
Yeah, she was, the roof was locked, and she somehow ended up on the roof naked inside of the water tank at the hotel.
Right. Yeah. So this became like
and they first...
Sorry, I was just going to say it just became a huge story on a lot of websites with tons of people, offering their theories of what could have possibly happened. We even at the time went into like a body language expert's breakdown of the video where she was talking about how the video suggests that she was like flirting and sexually excited in some way, you know, with whoever she was talking to.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go check out the video, you're going to see why it got so big, because it's just there's no one there. She's just talking to no one. But
yeah,
go ahead.
It's very unnerving. She was 21, and this was in L.A., Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles.
Okay.
And she was found on the roof of the hotel. She was completely naked. There was no indication that there had been any foul play, no bruises or marks on her body, nothing like that they could find. But she was in the water tank for a really long time. And the reason that they decided to look in the water tank to begin with was because the water in the hotel started coming out with black sediment in it.
Oh yeah,
and it was like stinking,
body grease and shit. People were
Yeah.
showering in it.
Yeah, just washing themselves with a corpse.
Yeah,
Gross.
and
I thought she was in the sprinkler system tank.
no,
No, they
she was coming out.
No, it
coming
was,
out the faucets.
coming out the taps.
So now there's a new
Yeah,
twist on the story, I guess. Though, it's surfaced that was she Korean, by the way?
No, Cantonese.
Cantonese. Okay.
They're all the same.
Yeah. What's the difference, Andrea? What are you, some kind of
She
lib?
was Chinese.
Yeah.
One of them libtards.
She was a zipper head.
This is. I said, by the way, I talked about this on the Lonely Show the other day, and how everyone thinks like New Orleans is like the party capital of the country, and it's just like. It's really not. It's just alcohol, and it's just a place where you're allowed to drink more socially and more often than you would normally be, you know, considered normal for in other cities. And I said zipperhead in a conversation the other day, and it just, everyone is just so fucking like easily offended here, you know. And I was just talking about how sometimes racial slurs were funny, and somebody said like what, and I said like zipperhead. And everybody was like, "What is that? I've never heard of that." Like,
what?
that's what, you know, that's the slang for Asians. And they're like, "What does that even mean?" And I was like, you know, and I did like a zipper motion across my eyes. It's like, you know, like your eyes are you know, thin and narrow. And nobody said anything except for this one guy who was just like, "That's fucked up, bro." And I'm like, I didn't make it up, dude. Like, talking about it for a second. But yeah, whoopee, the party capital of the world, where everyone's fucking easily offended and fucking boring and isolated. No one knows anything about current events or anything cool. Just a bunch of fucking drinking cunts. But so anyways, this, I guess now it's surfaced that there's a game in Korea, which is sort of like a Bloody Mary type of thing, right? And it's called the elevator game.
Yes. Typically, it's how to enter a different world, they call it. It's like how to transcend realms.
Yeah.
So what you're get in the elevator, and then you press the buttons in a specific sequence. You press 4 when you get to the 4th floor. You press 2 when you get to the 2nd floor. Goes on, until finally you end up on the 5th floor. And supposedly a girl will come into the elevator, and she's not human. Talk or look at her, and if you do, she'll take you away.
If you talk to her or look at her, she'll put you in the fucking water tower on the roof. Yeah. And you know what? It should be said, though, the reason things like this are now coming up is because there's never been one theory on the Elisa Lam case that persisted as like halfway rational or like, you know, there's never been one explanation that people have ever said, hey, yeah, that would make sense. You know, it's just a completely weird mystery.
Right.
We theorized that there was a hotel employee who was like wooing her because he had access to the roof and stuff like that, but he's not in any of the videos or anything.
Right.
And remember when she was doing like the wind gestures and stuff, like she was a marionette or something?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. She
was all creeped out and shit too. It seemed like she was flirty, but then she had like a little spaz moment.
Right, where she seemed to be terrified.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also seems like she's communicating with someone that the video doesn't see. If she was playing the elevator game and summoned that woman and talked to her, that's exactly what happened.
All right. So it could be this Korean elevator game, giving you detailed instructions on how to get from our realm into another dimensional plane via a simple numerical code that you can punch in on any elevator keypad. Why not?
Yeah, any place that has 10 stories or more.
Right.
Now down the video of her and analyzed where the buttons were that she was pressing, and they were able to prove reasonably that she had pressed them in the order associated with the elevator game.
No shit.
So it's but she didn't wait to get to each floor. She just pressed them in order.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it shows her going in there and just like pressing an array of buttons all erratically.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures
but if
of
you
the
guys want to look
hazmat.
into it, there is a really.
I'm looking at the pictures of the hazmat team removing her body from the water tank on the roof of the hotel. Jesus.
God.
And it is, as we talked about at the time, it's like these water tanks are like 10 feet tall. And that was another big compelling piece of the puzzle, was like, who could even kill her and then somehow get her up to the top of one of these, lift up the fucking heavy door to the top of it and stuff her in there. It would be an amazing feat, She definitely something weird happened to this bitch.
And it would have been amazing for her to have done it to herself, even if she had wanted to climb in there and kill herself or
kill
whatever.
herself by drowning in a barrel. That's not a very common, especially when you're already on the roof that you could just jump off of. Let's see.
Yeah.
Option
Maybe she got
A,
up there and decided that 10 stories wasn't enough.
do I want to
Wasn't
kill
the
myself?
tank locked from the outside?
Oh yeah, I think
No,
that
the
was
roof-
another thing too. Yeah.
The rooftop was locked.
Oh, but the water tank for the water that runs in all the faucets, you could just like pop that open once you're on the
It
roof.
was an 8-foot tall water cistern that was incredibly difficult to access. So they probably felt like it was pretty secure, and also who's going to go up there and screw with it?
Elevator ghost witch.
Elevator ghost lady.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
there's no surveillance cameras on the roof, unfortunately.
No, because it's locked.
Yeah. So, do we want to I know this was kind of just an excuse to talk about Elisa Lam again, but do you want to go into anything else about it, or should we keep moving?
Elisa Lam doesn't sound like a Korean name to me.
No, her real name was
Well, because
not that. Her
when
real name was Lam Ho Chi.
Yeah, and when Asians come to the United States, they oftentimes just pick American names because their name is so hard for a lot of Americans to pronounce or understand. A lot of the times, they just pick, "Yeah, my name's David. My name's whatever." It's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
So it was just one
John.
of those. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just thought that was an interesting new theory. There is a really thoughtful breakdown of it. I just searched elevator game at Elisa Lam, and it was like the first thing that came up. But it was worldofwonder.net. Somebody did a very in-depth analysis of the elevator game versus the video.
Okay.
But and it's worth mentioning, I think, because even if she was crazy and thought she was playing the elevator game, the idea is that you exit out into a world where you're the only person, and you're the only one in that realm. So if she thought that's what she was doing, and she thought she exited out into a world where it was only her, she might have tried to kill herself because that sounds horrible, So
again, though, you're on the roof. You could jump off or stuff yourself into a barrel and drown. It's like, I don't see suicide as the most likely, most likely hypothesis here. And her body was in there for 2 weeks until they discovered it.
Oh my God.
And then there was a big tuberculosis outbreak around that area near the hotel. This says too, you probably won't believe the name of the test kit used in these kinds of situations for a tuberculosis outbreak. I guess it's called Lam-Elisa.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's fucking strange.
Yeah, that's really strange. That is a very, very strange coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
But, what would that have to do with, why would they connect those if it was being controlled by some unseen hand, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I got some cop stuff. Huh? Hello?
Okay.
Okay, well, say more than okay. Say more words than that. It's a talk show. I got
sounded like you were going to keep going.
No, I'm trying to buy a second so I can fucking put up this article. Weld County. A family is mourning after the horrific death of their daughter. A cop forced their daughter, Ashley, down to the ground, pressed a 9mm handgun against the side of her head, and shot her to death, according to the family. This was an argument that happened at this party where I guess this cop thought his wife was smoking weed, and he became, like, enraged. And I guess, you know, was a drunk mess and was just screaming at everybody. Everybody at the party left. And then he claims shortly thereafter she killed herself. But I think he was just a drunk psycho that murdered his wife because she was smoking weed. So there you go.
Or because he thought she was?
Officer Fallis is his name, Fallis. Do you know where this was? You can look that up.
I don't know, but he did try to say that she committed suicide at first.
Yeah, and then he also
tried to cover it up that way.
So, and then they also covered up some other like eyewitness testimony about the night and stuff like that. And I guess some neighbor some neighbor's witness account that that they thought he murdered her because of just what they heard.
This is Colorado.
Huh?
Weld County, Colorado.
Oh, okay. And I guess initially they got away with it, but the family got together with the other witnesses and stuff, and now they're pushing for reinvestigation. Killed her because she was fucking smoking weed. I didn't think that cops.
She was.
I didn't think that cops. I didn't even think that cops actually thought weed was wrong. I thought they just thought they had to fucking enforce it. Who actually gets mad about it?
Cops. I guess they're the only ones left.
Many surmise that Officer Fallis will get a light sentence. So I guess now it looks that like he's gonna go down for it though. She had 3 children. Madeline, Jolie, and Blake will now grow up without their mother.
Idiots.
Well, she shouldn't have smoked so much weed. I bet she had tattoos too.
No, and she doesn't look like she smokes weed either. But
well, the picture they have of her is on her wedding day. I doubt she was smoking weed on her wedding day anyway.
Well, then she's not.
She already had all those
smoker.
kids before she got married.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's deviant and evil.
What a whore. So there's that.
That officer was doing us a favor.
Yeah, he's gonna probably get in some trouble, I think. And then I got DEA claims rabbits will get stoned in Utah if Utah passes medical marijuana. Did you see this? This is real.
Yeah.
I
saw this.
Not satire.
It's crazy.
The DEA has come up with the most ridiculous argument against marijuana legalization yet. According to countercurrentnews.com, you see the state of Utah is considering a bill that would recognize the rights of patients. They're only talking about medicinal here too, to use medical marijuana. So yeah, there's a new bill that's gonna consider that. It specifically promotes the use of edible forms of the plant, preferring it to smoking. Blah de blah. The DEA warns if the bill passes, the state's wildlife may start to cultivate a taste for the herb. If this happens, they say that animals like rabbits, little bunny rabbits, might start to lose their natural inhibitions and fears of humans. This, in turn, could result in an all-time high of animals such as rabbits losing their lives to humans. That's the most ridiculous shit I've ever fucking heard in my entire life.
If you smoke weed, you will kill rabbits.
Yeah, you must hate bunnies. Agent Matt Fairbanks was the one talking about this. I deal in facts, he says. I deal in science. And he's a member of the marijuana eradication team in Utah. Who are these fucking people? Where the fuck
Science.
are... What
Mormons.
what kind of upbringing did you have? Like, what happened to you that you really think this is the big problem out there? Marijuana eradication team? Holy fuck. You think people that are smoking weed are bad? And you guys are sitting here just like staring at rabbits trying to figure out if they're going to fucking be negatively affected by eating weed? That's way stupider than anything I've ever done when I was stoned, ever. Personally, I've seen entire mountainsides, he said, subjected to pesticides, harmful chemicals, deforestation, and erosion. The DEA science man said the ramifications to the flora, the animal life, the contaminated water are still unknown. And are we supposed to pretend that there wasn't marijuana growing everywhere for thousands of years on this continent? Is that part of what we're doing here?
Yeah, and are we just supposed to pretend that it doesn't grow as of right now, and that there's no threat to animals as it is?
Right. He claimed more of his scientific research involved observing rabbits, which he claims had cultivated a taste for the marijuana. One of them refused to leave us, he added, so we took all the marijuana around him, but his natural instincts to run were somehow gone. By the way, it's magically not illegal for them to have marijuana to give to rabbits.
Yeah, also,
like nobody else was giving weed to rabbits. You guys invented this, and now we're supposed to be afraid of it. No, like only a psycho like you would fucking even come up with this idea. Like, let's just fucking make rabbits eat weed all the time to see what happens to them. You know, like that's something you would almost have to be stoned to do. I don't understand this shit at all.
Only stoned people want to get animals stoned. That's like a rule.
Right. And this is what you're doing with your time? You fucking idiots.
Yeah. Also, like, they were feeding the rabbit. You could have been feeding him anything and he would want to stay by you because you're giving him food. And as far as he knows, that's the only thing in the world is to get food.
Right, as though rabbits aren't easily domesticated in the first place. You know, there's all kinds of domestic rabbits, and yeah, you're feeding it and taking care of it, and it gets used to you, studying it. It sees you all the time. How does that directly correlate to the weed? It didn't even run. This thing's not running away. It's fucking stoned. Obviously, this rabbit has lost all capability of surviving in the wild. But the picture
is now a national concern.
The picture of the rabbit smoking weed in this article is pretty funny.
Yeah, it is really funny. Well, and it's obviously a taxidermied rabbit too.
Yeah.
So its eyes are all bulging out and in its mouth.
What is wrong with these people? Do they actually believe in what they're doing, or is this just all part of the show to keep drugs illegal? You know, because we know the reasons.
No, I'm sure.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm sure that somebody gave them money and said, make it look like this.
Yeah.
And they said, we'll do science that makes it look like that.
I guess that makes more sense.
Thank you for the $50,000.
I don't know, man. Yeah. It's just, it's the lack of logic there is just astounding. But that's if you actually believe that drugs should be illegal, there aren't really many logical arguments you can make at all. So I guess that's what we should expect from that side of things.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. I mean, we can open this topic of weed and how it doesn't really do any harm to anybody measurably, and that they're just reaching for reasons to keep it illegal. This is just.
Yeah, it seems like a bogus art, like it's from The Onion or something.
It's goofy. Yeah.
Well, that's why.
What if it's reverse psychology?
I checked it out, and it seems to be a real story.
Yeah.
I hope it's not just something that sometimes something will get far enough before anybody realizes it's bogus that it just looks real when you kind of do a search on it and stuff. But yeah, I didn't see anything debunking it or anything.
This is real.
Yeah,
but it seems so bizarre that you to read it and be like, this is ridiculous.
Like,
I'm pro weed.
How do they not realize that they're the butt of a joke that they wrote? You know, when they fucking come out and say shit like this, like nobody was thinking about this. And again, just another angle on it is the fact that there are all kinds of real threats to wildlife and the environment all over the place from like powerful corporations, but they're not talking about the effects of Roundup on flora. They're talking about the effects of outdoor weed.
Yeah.
It's fucking absurd.
A plant that naturally grows there anyway. Here's my question. So the DEA is a federal organization, and they are designed to enforce federal laws, where at a federal level, medical marijuana is still illegal, which is what empowers the DEA to raid legal dispensaries in Colorado or Washington.
Sure.
So why is the DEA weighing in on what will happen if Utah legalizes medical marijuana? Because they can still capitalize off of it. They can still raid those places and make the money.
That's what I'm saying. And not only that, their entire existence is predicated on people believing that that these substances should be controlled by the government in the first place. So if they can see that people are kind of waking up, even people that don't do drugs and don't have a real education on this subject at all, and maybe don't think about it into deep of a way or know much about it, even those people are starting to go, why are we doing this? It's so obvious that the war on drugs is such a fucking waste of resources and so ineffective and just it's not working for anyone. It's, so the DEA's whole existence relies on kind of providing a counterpoint to that shift in views, and so that's how pathetic it's gotten for them. That's how hard it is to make a pro-drug war argument at this point.
Yeah. Everything else that we use as excuses have all been debunked. We have to think of something completely new now.
Reality isn't going to work out for us.
Yeah.
These guys are just fucking nuts. And then you got this thing, the X-ray vans in New York. This is another insane thing about law enforcement that's going on. You've seen this, right? It's like they supposedly developed these vans at a cost of like $800 fucking grand a piece that shoot like regular old radiation X-rays at the side of other vehicles and give like a computer image, in the van of what's inside other vehicles.
Yeah, it looks like the X-ray machines at the airport. It's that kind of like.
Yeah, right, like a body scanner looking thing.
Yeah.
And it's not only being criticized for the obvious, civil liberties reasons, but just the radiation effects that now you're unbeknownst to the drivers around you, bathing them in radiation, as you drive by.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking unethical. To say the least. And I guess Police Commissioner Bill Bratton was asked to comment on news of the NYCLU's request. I don't know what's the NYCLU, but the request to file an amicus brief to force more transparency on how the department uses this equipment, and he declined to comment on it. Those are issues I'd prefer not to divulge to the public at this time, he said. I will not talk about anything at all about this. It falls into the range of security and counter-terrorism activity that we engage in. Who the fuck do you work for, you fucking moron? I'm so sick of police acting like there's some fucking clandestine, group, like they're fucking SEAL Team 6, and they can't divulge what they're doing. Like, you supposedly work for us, right? And we're supposed to fucking hail you as our heroes all the time, But you're just not gonna tell us what's going on with this stuff. But you work for us, and we're all on the same team, right? We just want to get criminals, right?
Yeah.
You work for
You're
us,
here
but
to
you
help
can't.
us.
You can't tell us because they might find out. Okay. And in the picture, it shows like the graphic of where they're discovering a bunch of Mexicans in a fucking trailer truck.
Yeah.
I assume they're Mexicans. You can.
I was about to say, you can't really tell that they're Mexicans, but the way they're sitting in the truck.
I use a couple other context clues, such as there being 30 people in a truck.
The NYCLU is the New York Civil Liberties Union.
Okay. The vehicles called Z backscatter vans are primarily used by U.S. Customs. Oh, I guess they're already in use. U.S. Customs and Border Protection to search for drugs, explosives, and human trafficking. The whole body imager technology is identical to machines that were installed in major airports. They were ultimately removed owing to their reputation as naked scanners. Each of the vans reportedly costs $729,000 to $825,000. Boy, that's money well spent right there.
Yeah. It's great.
So
wonderful.
What is the argument for this? That, hey, this is a way to see bombs. I would imagine they'll probably
find weapons.
Yeah.
See bombs. Obviously, catch people traveling illegally.
Not
as we can see from this helpful graphic.
What it's actually going to be used for is immigration and drugs.
Yeah,
things that don't pose a direct threat to anyone. But
and they put the magic word on it, which is counterterrorism. And as we all know, terrorism has an incredibly broad definition. And you could pretty much argue that anybody is a terrorist if you need to.
And a lot of people in New York are real sensitive about terrorism. Fucking pussies.
Yeah.
And
it's worth mentioning, though, New York has sacrificed a ton of freedom for the illusion of security. They do stop and frisk searches in New York constantly, walking down the street, and a cop is just like, let me look in your bag.
No, and I've heard a lot of New Yorkers basically just kind of, they'll say like, hey, that's the price. I watched those buildings fall. My cousin died. That's the price of freedom. We're not going to get attacked again. It's like they've really worked it into their philosophy. A lot of New Yorkers on all sides of these issues, they just kind of accept it.
Yeah, and it's amazing how clearly illustrated it is. How officials are able to exploit a tragedy in order to take things away from you.
Yeah, and this is all stuff too that's like shit that 25 years ago nobody would have believed would happen in this country, but all it takes is these few events to be exploited endlessly and to have it done gradually to you to where this doesn't seem abnormal at all, and this is what we need to do to keep safe. And I know we used to like freedom in this country, and we used to like freedom in an extreme way, I'll admit, and we maybe that's a conversation we'll be having for forever. Is where is the line between expected, what you can expect to be safe in society and how free you should be. But still, this would have been inconceivable not too long ago.
Yeah,
this kind of shit.
But now, how many people in New York do you think would support the use of these X-ray machines because they have nothing to hide, so they have nothing to fear? And since we were attacked on September 11th, there hasn't been another domestic terrorist attack. So what they're doing must be working.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sadly, there are.
And I'll bet
I was just going to say, sadly, there are people that really do think that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And they wouldn't think. I would imagine that a majority of them wouldn't think that way if they hadn't been at the epicenter of a major tragedy.
Right.
If they hadn't been in New York and felt super emotionally connected to that place. Sure. I didn't have that connection to New York because I'm not from New York. I don't love it. I don't know it. So they wouldn't be able to exploit me emotionally that way.
And it's weird for a lot of us who aren't particularly nationalistic too. It's like, I've heard hundreds of stories of many people being killed in attacks. It's like it doesn't have any really special significance to me emotionally either, where it's like any different than a bomb being dropped in Palestine and 800 people being killed or something, and you're like, I hear these stories all the fucking time. Maybe not in those high numbers, but you know what I mean? It's like for a lot of us from other parts of the country, it's just another thing that happened far away, Yeah,
and it's also an opportunity to reform security in the country and can be used as a reason to take away our freedoms.
Well, and of course, that's what it's been mostly.
And that's where it hits home for a lot of people, I think, in a way where it's more like how are they going to exploit me for what happened over there?
Right. Yeah. So driving around zapping people with radiation.
If it's going to start anywhere, it's going to start in New York.
Oh, of course. And on the border. I guess, it says they're already using them on the border. I guess that doesn't sound weird to me at all. It's just like, oh yeah, of course they are.
I know, it's weird. Sometimes I imagine like the American-Mexican border, and in my mind it goes into the compartment of like a war zone. And so when I hear that they're using this technology there, it makes more sense than putting it in the middle of a city.
Right. Yeah, and it just gets a little bit creepier when you envision it in like a totally stable urban environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you kind of picture the border. You're just like, well, I believe anything is going on down there. That's fucking nuts down there. And it just gets worse and worse ever since that new president took over in
Money
Mexico.
is doing whatever they can down there.
What's that fucking guy's name? I remember when I worked with all Mexicans, and the election was coming up in Mexico, and everybody was saying, well, it's going to be this guy. And Andrew, maybe you could look up his name real quick, but I can't fucking remember it right now. But they were saying, well, and I was like, what's the deal with this guy? And they're like, well, everybody knows that he's got strong ties to certain cartels, and he's made a lot of money off drugs and blah, blah, blah. They say he's this or that, real estate and banking and this and that, but he's really a cartel guy, and that's what all the Mexican guys were telling me. And so they're like, he's going to be president. It doesn't matter. The vote doesn't matter. Sure enough, that guy became president. And the next thing that happens is a whole shitload of cartels band together into that one cartel that operates around the border now and just started fucking slaughtering anyone who opposed them. And that's when the border really got to be shitty in that whole area. So it all ties around that new president. That's the word on the street from my Mexican homeboys.
Is that Enrique Nieto?
Is that his name? Fuck, that doesn't even sound familiar. Who's the president of Mexico right now? Is that him?
Yeah, that's him.
Okay, yeah, then that's who I'm talking about.
Well, there you have it.
That's just the word on the street. And I trust them a lot more than any fucking information I can get from American media.
Yeah, it's interesting when you get news directly out of Mexico instead of filtered through American news sources.
Oh, it's much different.
Very different.
It's much different. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mexicans, like, they have an understanding of the corruption in their culture, but what we don't understand is, like, they have a cultural understanding of it in a way that if we had the same cultural understanding of our own oppression in this country, we'd have a violent revolution right now. The Mexicans have, like, a very different way of looking at it, which is just part of their culture, where they just go, yeah, that's how things are. Yeah, that's, and they're very matter of fact about it. This is, that's
just how it is.
That's just how it's always been. What am I going to fucking, I want to work and do my thing, and I'm not going to get in the way.
Yeah.
And it's also, there's a lot more violence there, where it's just like, holy fuck. Like, I can understand why people just decide to stay out of things. I'm just going to do my thing and not bother anyone. Yeah, it's clear what's going on. But do you know what I mean? If we had that same awareness of the corruption in our culture, there's other parts of our culture that would kick in that we'd be fucking rising up in the streets by now. Yeah.
But it's still the image of our oppression is still very oppressed. And and people who describe it even as oppression are often labeled as overreacting or crazy or exaggerating or and I think that's mostly because we are so brainwashed to think that America is the best country in the world. People won't hear anything different,
right? What a great place. And if you're really into like conspiracy stuff and you kind of understand the way that corporations run governments and everything, talk to some Mexicans. You're going to find that they understand all of this shit too, and they just don't give a fuck. They just don't care.
It's just, it's grown beyond control down there.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't know how we got off on that because I wanted to talk about the drone gun.
Okay.
U.S. sci-tech contractor Battelle has developed a revolutionary gun that can target and stop UAVs dead at a range of just about 400 meters using radio signals. It expects to make it available, though, to U.S. government agencies.
Why?
Well, because that's how you sell a lot of weapons. You get involved with
Not
them.
in this day and age.
Well, I mean, so you release this to the public. There's gonna be a bunch of people that buy them, but I would imagine that not many of us can afford things like this because the government took all our fucking money, and they're gonna buy them all. The government has all the fucking money to buy as many drone killers as it wants. The drone defender can help protect us from those who may wish to do us harm. It can help protect us.
Terrorists.
Yeah, of course. Terrorists and their drones. It can help us in numerous settings, from the White House lawn to bases, embassies, overseas, prisons, schools, historic sites. It easily and reliably neutralizes the threat, boasted Dan Stam, who led the research project for the Ohio headquartered nonprofit company. Nonprofit company means that not many people are profiting, basically. There can still be a lot of money made. Makers say that the model, which looks like a gun with an antenna instead of a barrel, weighs less than 5 kilograms, can be switched on in less than 1/10 of a second, can operate for 5 hours straight without a recharge.
Whoa. So
I wonder if they're going to let us average citizens buy these things, or if this is only for secret agents and cool government guys.
No, I'm sure that someone's going to design a cheaper knockoff version now that they know that this technology is capable of doing this. You know, somebody worked out all the hard parts. Now someone just has to replicate it, even just based on what they say here in this.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
this article.
I'm sure there's a way around it, because it's not that complicated. What it's doing is basically just blocking the communication between the controller and the drone itself. It's shooting the right frequencies to, however, scramble the communication, and let's see, it says disrupt radio control frequencies between the drone and the pilot. So it basically makes the drone think it's gone out of range. The drone enters its safety protocols, which include one of 3 options. It'll either hover in position, or it'll land so the pilot can recover it physically, or it returns to its point of origin. Kind of a non-climactic weapon.
Yeah, I would kind of want it to just knock it straight out of the air.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can still just shoot it with a bullet.
Yeah.
There's still that. I think I'd way rather shoot a drone with a bullet. Yeah, and that's already happened a few times, and I think the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the people who shot down drones. There were some police surveillance drones that got shot down in remote areas over farms and stuff, And if I remember right, they went to the Supreme Court or some other appellate court or whatever, and they ruled like, this is an invasion of privacy. You can shoot this down. If it comes on
I
your
remember
land.
talking about that on the show.
Yeah. So that works still.
Yeah, and that's pretty good. I mean, it counts as trespassing. Your airspace still technically is part of your property up to a certain height.
Mm-hmm. Which I think was part of what they established with those rulings. It was like, here, you can reasonably expect privacy in this amount of airspace. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know if drones are kind of delicate, aren't they? I mean, you could probably shoot it with less than a bullet. Should probably shoot it with a BB gun and take it out.
You can shoot it with
you wouldn't even have to shoot an actual gun.
You could shoot it with a super soaker. Just get it wet.
Rubber band.
Yeah. A slingshot. There's all kinds of ways.
Yeah, who needs this fancy radio gun? The government can keep it. Waste your money, jerks.
Yeah, so that's whatever, dude. These companies that make these major developments, it's always so fucking disappointing when they go for the government contract right off the bat. Like, maybe try selling it for a year, see how it does,
Yeah.
But it would be pretty hard, the way that the government operates, to exclude them from making big purchases, because once you do that, then the IRS comes after you and some other shit, you know what I mean? They all fucking work in tandem to make sure you comply. So it would be pretty hard as a manufacturer to get around it. I know, like, a lot of weapons manufacturers have taken criticism for, hey, you have these contracts where you sell like 70% of your fucking shit to the government right off the bat, and then the rest of us are sitting here on waiting lists. This is not right. And I know there was a gun company that refuses to make contracts with the government or to sell them to them in bulk, and they then had a bunch of IRS trouble and stuff. So it's already happened.
Yeah.
That was years ago.
Yeah, well, of course they're going to do whatever they can to get their way. Why wouldn't they? That's the whole point of being a government. Being
a gang.
Yeah.
So that's that. Stupid drones. Harriet Tubman wins vote to replace Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill. San Francisco CBS. Andrew Jackson has a female rival for a spot on the $20 bill.
Look out.
Women on 20s. A group has been campaigning to replace Jackson with a woman, has chosen Harriet Tubman, the 19th century abolitionist who escaped slavery and led other slaves to freedom via the Underground Railroad. I guess they had this big vote online or whatever, and more than 600,000 votes were cast, narrowing a long list of 4 finalists who were, doesn't matter who they were. Women on 20s now plans to petition the White House. Their goal is to have a new $20 bill in circulation by the year 2020, the 100th anniversary of a woman's right to vote. Also known as the biggest mistake we ever made.
Ew. Do you think it's weird that there are no women on our money, on any of our money?
No, because really women don't do anything cool. Who would you have on the money? No, it's not weird. I'll tell you why. Because the people who, were of the elite culture that created this mythology about our founding fathers and how great they all are, and these men that we should hold in reverence for hundreds of years to come, they were all men. So it's not weird in that sense.
Yeah.
I think it's suspicious.
Yeah.
We can't think of one.
Well, and the other part too.
Oh,
is
wait a second. Susan B. Anthony dollar.
Okay, yeah, and the Sacagawea dollar too. But those are like novelty currency.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of countries have non-political figures on their money, including people who have made notable contributions to their country, to their culture, to the world, to science, to, I mean, people who have impacted the world. I don't see any reason why we have to stick with 200-year-old politicians.
Well,
if we're constantly redesigning and reprinting our money anyway.
Because money contains, many symbols of our oppression. And, why not have the original oppressors in there? The Andrew Jackson thing, like, here's the deal. What's going on right now is we're kind of re-looking over American culture, and our generation and kids younger than us. They're really, really, everybody's sort of like trying to take a fresh look at this stuff that we always held as like, part of our grand history and all this. And so I understand why you might want to go, hey, let's get rid of this. Like we talked about with the Confederate flag thing. Same conversation. I understand why you want to get rid of the certain symbols. And like, yeah, Andrew Jackson was actually kind of a fucking shithead, right? So, like, I get it totally. But again, it just seems to be like you're trying to force logic into a system that won't allow for it. So, I mean, if you want to go ahead and worry about what's on the money, I guess go ahead, but that's not going to do really much to reform our culture in any meaningful way. But I get it. I get why you would want it. I really do.
Yeah, it just it seems weird that there's been so little evolution of currency, considering how much the value of it has evolved over time, and that the actual representation, the physical representation of it, has done nothing to evolve.
Hey, you know what I noticed recently that I never noticed before on a dollar bill? I think it's the one. I mean, I fucking have no money, so I can't even look. But the background of it is a spider web. Did you ever notice that? It's like there's all the symbols and all this shit going on, and eagles flying around with 13 things in their claw for some reason, and blah blah blah, and all these like Freemason symbols, and you got the pyramid and the all-seeing eye of Horus and all this shit. Mm-hmm. But like behind all that, the backdrop to a dollar bill. Do you have one? Are we all that poor? Do you have a dollar bill there?
Yeah, I could probably dig one out.
It's a spider web, which
you know what? I did know that. I don't have to dig. I mean, I can dig one out if we want, but or I could look up a picture of one on my computer, I guess. But I have noticed that. I remember being a kid and finding a magazine article about 20 secrets in your money that you've never noticed before.
Oh, okay.
And it just pointed out a bunch of like weird little details. And it was when the $100 bill was redesigned the first time before they changed the color of it.
Right.
When they like changed what the 100s looked like, and they made the portrait bigger, and they added new security features. And it was an article all about that. And then it was like, well, we're at it. We'll tell you, they're all considered security features because they're difficult to replicate, and there's many layers, and it's really intricate. But yeah, I have noticed that before, and I haven't thought about it as a symbol as much as I've thought of it as just an artistic intricacy. But yeah, it's everything on a $1 bill is symbolic of an elite culture or a secret culture, or at least associated.
Right.
With.
Yeah. And spider webs, and if you look at this, like, okay, there's enough going on there that I think it's reasonable to suggest that anything you see that's prevalent on a bill is probably for purpose of symbolism, and the spider web, fuck, I gotta find, I just read about it the other day, was, classically symbolic of deception and basically what you would picture, trapping someone, and whatever, deception. Fuck, I can't remember how they put it. We'll try to find it maybe after we take a break. But but yeah, it's whatever. It's an old symbol for like deception and malevolence and just ill intent in general.
Yeah, there's even a little tiny spider hidden on the front of the $1 bill in the spider web. Yeah, it's in the let's see. Okay, so the upper right-hand one, on the upper left-hand corner of that one, there's a little teeny tiny spider just sitting there. Yeah, on the little frame that goes around it. Yeah, but
so whatever. That's my whole point. Is like when you really look at the big thing, the big picture, like, is it going to do a lot for you to get somebody's a new face on there, or should we really be worrying about like all this other shit? Why our currency makes no fucking sense and is just printed at random, and loaned, and then loaned to us. Yeah. How about that? No, let's get fucking stupid. What's her name? Harriet Tubman on a bill.
Stupid old Harriet Tubman.
That was her nickname, Stupid Tubman.
Yeah.
And whatever, dude. I get it. These they should have more of a place of honor in our culture, but they also had Rosa Parks on the list. And if you know anything about that, she wasn't even fucking real. Do you remember that? We did this on the show one time. She was like the scene was recreated with her. It was a scene that happened, and the lady went to jail and everything, but she was just real like uneducated and like wasn't a good, for whatever reason, wasn't a good spokesperson for civil rights and stuff. So they recreated the scene with Rosa Parks as basically a plant.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's worked.
Yeah. Worked really well.
Everybody.
Old MLK got in there, started stirring things up.
Now, I did think it was interesting that one of the other finalists for this was Wilma Mankiller.
Yeah.
Who was the first female chief of the Cherokee Nation. Which is kind of an interesting choice for a country that still celebrates Columbus Day.
Yeah, definitely. Wilma Mankiller. What a bitch.
Yeah, I would love to have someone named Mankiller on my money.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. See,
that's like the opposite of what we have.
That's what I would have voted for. But yeah, and again, so take Andrew Jackson off. Why do we even need anyone on money? What is that?
No,
why do we need that? What kind of weird fucking indoctrination, is that? Like, it must do something to you psychologically to have money be like at the center of your existence, and you need this stuff and you got to get more, and it's fucking, you can't do anything without it. And then these these figures are printed on there, so it must do something to you to make you feel like these people are of unquestionable importance in American history and are just people to be revered.
It could also be a tactic to make money seem like your friend, and give you an emotional connection to having money and using money and talking about money. Because, like $100 bills are referred to as Benjamins. If that's not friendly, I don't know what is. I'd rather have a Benjamin than a $100 bill. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if that's just a chicken or the egg thing, but but what? Yeah, but what? So why do we need? Why don't we just take all the people off money? I'd like to. First of all, I'd like to go back to just having coins. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be great.
And I'd like to carry around like a little faggy pouch of coins,
Wear it around your neck.
Yeah, just put them down on the counter. That's how it was when I was in Ireland. Like a lot of things were coins. That was awesome. You had to use like a coin instead of $1. There were some bills. I truthfully never knew what was going on when I was there, and I could not remember the exchange rate at all. And they tell you, do you remember when we were growing up, how many adults told you, hey, if you have American money, they'll accept it anywhere in the world. This is the shit. This is what everyone wants, American money. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I remember hearing that so much as a kid. You could go to any country in the world and use American money. So I tried that in Ireland, and that is completely untrue. They just look at you like you're a total idiot. They're like, we don't take. What do you expect us to do with that? Like, we have to go to a currency exchange every day? No, we're not doing that. So that is a fucking myth, and I don't know where that came from. That probably was never true. It's just part of the nationalism of this stupid fucking country. But go ahead.
Were they onto the euro when you were there?
No, I think it was actually before that.
Okay.
It would have been like...
Because I was going to say the euro kicks the American dollar's ass, and that would be a good reason why they wouldn't take it.
No, was... everything was in pounds. Which I don't know if it was...
must have been heavy.
I don't know if it was on the same system as England or whatever, but it had like all the same names, But no, it was not the euro yet. It was like 1999. So...
Oh, okay.
It was not the euro. Anyways.
Yeah, no, that always seemed a little suspect to me anyway.
What, the claim that you could just use American money wherever you went?
Yeah, it didn't seem quite right.
It's not right. Should we take a quick break and finish up?
Sure.
All right, we'll be back on the Overdose Talk Show. Do a couple more stories for you. Thanks. So what happened? David Box fell asleep?
Yeah. He's very asleep.
Is he still sitting there at his mic? No, he went to bed?
No, he's laying here. He laid down and propped his mic in such a way that he could still talk into it, but now he's just sleeping next to it.
That's adorable.
Can you hear him breathing?
No. Let's hear it.
Yeah. He's stretched out across 2 couches.
Put his mic, put it right in his nose.
All right,
shove it in his face. Matt Geer, I wanted to thank too, who called in earlier to promote his thing. Mentioned me in this interview he did for bomarblog.com, BOMARR blog, about what artists listen to while they paint and stuff. So he gave me a little shout out in there. I gave Robot Hilarious a shout out.
That's good.
Yeah, that was nice of him. So I just want to say thanks for that.
He's a nice guy.
And we'll throw that up on our Facebook page too, I guess. Yeah. His article. I think I just sent it to you.
Yeah, I got it.
All right. Well, what else is interesting today, Andrea?
I want to talk about this fucking stupid ass Donald Trump quote that's floating around on Facebook. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah. Oh, you know what else I've seen though? Remember I don't know if we mentioned on the show, but me and you talked about the Simpsons episode from years ago where Donald Trump ran for president, right? Mm-hmm. And for a while, like, the photographs have been kind of getting posted of, like, comparing it. I watched a video comparing a scene in the episode to a scene of his actual campaign, and it's where he's going down an escalator. Have you seen this? And
no.
So in the Simpsons episode, he goes down the escalator, and and it's like the exact same scene, and he raises his arm up, his right arm, to wave, and then lowers it and brings his left arm up in like that, that weird, I don't know what that is, but it's like that certain thumbs up that only politicians do, where
it's like a thumbs forward.
Yeah, where their hand isn't like in a fist. It's like they curl their fingers outward, like the tips of their fingers are touching like the base of their fingers, like at the top of your palm, you know what I mean? And then they like push their thumb forward. I don't know what that is or what that's supposed to be.
It's kind of apish.
It just looks real stupid. But so in the Simpsons episode, he raises his right arm up and then lowers it and brings his left arm up in that stupid thumbs up shit. And then they do a side by side with a real video of him on the campaign where those exact motions lined up perfectly, as with the Simpsons episode. So it got me started about, predictive programming, thinking about that whole thing again. And the idea that in pop culture, we're basically exposed to events before they happen to make them seem more plausible, even if they're presented satirically at the time. But it was pretty, dude, I usually don't go in for like this happened on a TV show 20 years ago, and it's usually pretty kind of like, they're usually reaching pretty hard, but this one was like precise. It was creepy.
Yeah, and as we've pointed out before, Simpsons casts a wide net. They have 20 years worth of content, over 20 years worth of content.
Hundreds of episodes and stuff, and so it would be weird if something they didn't come true at some point.
Right, exactly.
But this was not that. See, this is what I'm saying. I don't think this is that. This is like is eerily, like exactly the same.
Yeah. Well, and also, I don't think it's a coincidence that it is a Fox program, and Fox has been pushing Donald Trump pretty hard as a viable option.
Yeah, and there's plenty you can read up on predictive programming, and I've done articles on it in the past for Conscious Nexus and stuff. There's plenty of stuff you can find. My favorite, I think, was the Family Guy from a few months before the Boston bombing. There was a Family Guy episode where they showed Peter, one of those things of like the time I won the Boston Marathon, and it shows him running a bunch of people over at the finish line, and it leaves a couple second scene that looks very similar to the aftermath of the bombing, Mm-hmm. And later in that same episode, they do a joke about his like when he made friends with some terrorists or something, and they have him make a phone call from a cell phone that detonates a bomb. So it was like these two things in the same episode, either earlier in the year or the year before the bombing happened, whatever. And if you remember, those were the initial reports, was that they think it was detonated via cell phone.
Right. Yeah.
So
I do remember that.
Yeah. There's stuff like that is pretty interesting. But what is this stupid Donald Trump quote that you're talking about?
The quote, for the record, is a hoax. It's not a real quote. But it has been so widely shared that I have to talk about it. Okay. He says, "If I were to run, I'd run as a Republican. They're the dumbest group of voters in the country. They'll, I'm sorry, it's white on white right here. Let's see. They would have, they believe anything on Fox News. I could lie and they would still eat it up. I bet my numbers would be terrific." Now, somebody had just made this up and said that he said it in a People magazine interview in 1998, but it's completely not true. However, I think
people are sharing it constantly. Probably all of those super educated Bernie Sanders supporters.
Yeah, it is all the Bernie Sanders people. It's all the Bernie Sanders people on Facebook that are sharing this.
Those are the people that are still gullible enough to believe that your savior is coming, in the form of another old Jewish politician.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're definitely gullible to fall for these stupid fucking internet hoaxes I'm sure we have too a few times, but this one is
even so
it's getting some major legs on the old Facebook, huh?
Yeah, and what's frightening to me about it is that it exposes how truly theatrical the election process is. And these are people who are sharing it, or people who think that it proves a point in favor of their candidate. When
Yeah.
really what it does is it says, I believe that one of the presidential candidates actually said this and people are still voting for him. So there you have your process, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So they're
Well, no,
really shooting
because-
themselves in the foot.
You know, the whole the left right thing. I mean, it's been for years now. The left's tactic is just to claim that the only way you couldn't agree with them is that you're some sort of moron, you know?
Yeah.
And that's
Right.
the only possibility. Or you're just a religious fundamentalist. I've been getting really, and this happens every election, everything becomes super fucking left-right oriented in every conversation. And so, again, I'm experiencing this constant, this style of debating where when one person disagrees with a certain view on something, you then attribute a bunch of other views to them, knowing nothing about them at all. And so if somebody like opposes gun control and then they go like, you know, well, I thought you were so pro-life. Like, what? What are you talking about? So like everyone's just debating in these really childish ways. It's so disappointing. You make friends for 3 years and then due to like social networking, then you find out what they really think about stuff. And it's every election is like this, dude. It's just everyone becomes a fucking moron. And just a little fucking bickering child. But
yeah, Facebook is terrible at maintaining relationships with people you didn't know very well before Facebook.
Dude, I've said it a million times. I hate people that I like because of Facebook. I meet people in real life. We tell jokes. We have a great time. We might even respectfully disagree about some things and have an interesting conversation. And then when I see them on Facebook, they're just such a piece of shit. It's like this weird fucking this other world we all live in. And then you see the people in real life and you get along fine. And then you fucking hate them on your computer.
Yeah. There's one girl in specific that I keep thinking of who I used to work with a while ago. And she was very smart and very interesting and was working on a documentary that was about how major media outlets brainwash American youth through means of violence. And I thought that she seemed really like her head was screwed on right, and she seemed really open-minded. And then I became friends with her on Facebook, and it turns out she is super hardcore conservative Catholic, like big time, to the point where I almost unfriended her the other day because I was like, I can't believe that there was ever anything on my newsfeed from her that I wanted to see.
Too much condescending, guilt-based enlightenment.
Yeah, well, she was one of the first people to jump on the Planned Parenthood is selling aborted fetus train, and started presenting all that stuff as fact and just like spamming.
Wait, I thought some of that was true though, because I don't know. I know over the years Planned Parenthood has been involved in a lot of fucking shady doings. Like any massive organization like that, you know.
Right, yeah.
Was that all fucking garbage?
I'm not 100% convinced one way or the other. I do know that a lot of the videos that allegedly came out that purported that they were discussing prices for sale of aborted fetuses were actually, and there was like a price list that somebody found, but that stuff was not about
like they just have that laying around.
Yeah, like they have like a sample invoice from their last fetus sale, broken down by body part.
We are all a bunch of idiots. We all think we're fucking detectives now.
Yeah,
fucking morons.
But that was about transportation and disposal of those items.
Okay.
And like how much it would cost to transport X, Y, or Z to a medical facility for autopsy so that the students can learn what this looks like on the inside. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
maybe I'm so cynical that like I see some stuff and I go like, oh yeah, of course they are.
Well, and I also strongly believe that Planned Parenthood provides very necessary services in a lot of places that really need it, and I don't think that they should be defunded. And I think it's shitty that because people have this idea in their head that they're selling fetuses, they think the entire thing needs to be shut down, because that's not something I agree with.
Well, okay. I mean, they might provide services to some people, but then the question is, are they also doing a lot of shit which is immoral along with it? Like, if I remember right, I've definitely seen videos where they're basically trying to talk people into having abortions, and they seem to like their practice seem to reflect some sort of general like depopulation agenda, But again, without anything in front of me, that's not an area that I'm really fucking well versed in.
Yeah, and also you never know what you were seeing and what context it was actually in. The person who filmed that could
I just
have
have a
set it
hard
up
time
and said, I
believing
have
that they're
these health problems. I can't raise a baby. I don't have money. I'm addicted to drugs.
Right.
They could have said a million things or had real, honest health problems that would have made it risky or dangerous for them to go through with a pregnancy.
I guess that's a reasonable point.
And they do, and it's not just all
We should look
abortion
into
stuff
this.
there. They do.
Want to do this on the next episode, like an in-depth thing on Planned Parenthood, and we'll see what's
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, I
Try
think
to
that's a great idea.
Figure out what's really going on, because I'm suspicious. Like it's been talked about on the show over and over. I've never been comfortable with the idea of like the abortion rates and how they seem to go up and up, and certain ethnicities seem to be targeted. And it's like, dude, I've seen, and I don't know how reliable this information is, but we'll find out, I guess, for the next show. You'll see figures sometimes that are like in certain cities, 40-50% of black children are aborted. You know what I mean? And so stuff like that I've seen over the years has really influenced my view of them. And if it's not fair, then we'll discover that, I guess, and we'll have to figure this out, because I'd like to know now, because I've always been very wary of them as an organization. But now that I'm actually trying to think of why, I'm not I'm not pulling much of substance up.
Well, and the other thing too that I think gets kind of clouded up in this argument is that Planned Parenthood does more than provide abortions. They first try to empower women to avoid getting pregnant in the first place.
I've been
as
there
well as
for
they do
for shit when I was young and had no money, and
cancer screenings. They service men as well. Yeah, it's not just a place where they dole out abortions nonstop.
Yeah, like we could just see them like physicians when I was like 18,
right,
19, whatever. My girlfriend and I went there a couple times. Well, I think she got birth control there and stuff. But then, also it was just like I forget what was going on, and it wasn't like an STD or anything weird. But I went there for just like a doctor visit, and they had just regular doctors there and stuff, and it was really cheap. I think I got antibiotics or some shit. I can't remember, but it was one of those things where they just told my girlfriend like, "Oh, do you need we were going to go to a doctor for something," and they're like, we can do that, and it was, they were nice and it was cool. And, but generally, I try to look out for things that are evidence of a depopulation agenda from the elite, which a lot, like Alex Jones has gone after Planned Parenthood for years, but,
is there a difference in your mind between population control and a depopulation agenda?
It's complicated. I guess not, because I don't think that it's legitimate that we need population control. I think we need better resource allocation and things like that. But I always point to the fact that Africa has the lowest standard of living of any continent on the planet, and the highest amount of natural resources per capita. So are we really experiencing overpopulation in a lot of these third world countries, or are we experiencing resource hoarding by the elite and and basically whole cultures which are enslaved? I don't buy that there's not enough natural resources on the planet, and I also don't buy that we're running out of space, because I've driven around this country and we're not. And and everybody gloms into little tiny areas, and what we're experiencing is overcrowding in a lot of areas, definitely. But overpopulation, no. And from what I've seen, the numbers play out to be like, and a lot of scientists, I think, have agreed that we can healthily sustain a population of around 8 billion on the planet, and they think that our numbers are going to grow to like 9.5 billion, and we're going to experience some massive plague and die off, and we're going to settle back around between 7 and 8 and be able to sustain that healthily. So you know what I mean? And I think that people, it just makes me suspicious how sure most people are that the world is overpopulated when you can just look. I mean, you've driven around the country. It's 99% nothing. It's just big, wide open spaces. We're not just fucking running out of space and we're not running out of resources, but we are running out of the instincts and abilities to get them on our own. So we're at the whim of our oppressors who are telling us, oh, you know why it's so hard to get stuff and groceries are so expensive and you know, all these different conditions in third world countries, and people are having tons of kids and they can't support them. It's just because they're rigging the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, because they built it that way.
So I'm not gonna listen to the same people who cause all these awful fucking all these awful conditions in society tell me that it's not their fault. It's just the earth can't handle this many of us. You know?
Yeah. So that's what you think, that's an ulterior motive of the Planned Parenthood?
This is not to go into anything about like climate change and all that shit. I'm not saying that we don't have massively fucking negative impact on environments and the world on the whole, the way we live. But I'm saying that it's not that there's too many of us. It's that we're fucked up. There's resource hoarding and there's bullshit conditions put in place by the elite to make us feel like, you know, like it's this hard to get by. And it is.
And everything runs through a money filter. You can't have water. You have to buy water. You can't have food. You can't grow food. You have to buy food.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when I see population control, what I see is like a subversive kind of attempt at making people believe that this is what this is going to help. When really we're just going to be eventually condensed into a more manageable slave class. The middle class will be completely eroded away, and we'll all be basically proletariats working for the party members to have nice lives. Which is what we're dangerously close to now, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Why? What do you think? There should be some difference?
Well, I guess I view birth control as a necessary resource, especially for a person like me who does not have the money to raise a child, and without birth control would probably have had a child by now.
Everyone says that, but so many of us were born into families that would have said the same thing, and they figured it out,
Right, of course. Yeah, of course you would figure it out, but that's a further it's taxing on my already taxed situation.
Well, the point is you don't feel like having kids right now, and the science is out there that makes it makes you able to live your life without getting pregnant. So why not be able to use it? And you need to get birth control. And so what's your point?
Well, I guess my point is that if we don't have birth control and people start having children they can't afford, they're going to draw those resources from somewhere. Which is why I view it as a necessary thing right now. And in terms of short term, obviously long term we would probably could stand to spread out and share our resources a little bit better. But in the short term, I don't really think I need to start popping out any babies. And if other people feel like they don't want to have babies, I don't think that they should have access to care that prevents that from happening.
Yeah, but then you end up with the whole idiocracy principle. When all the responsible people are seeing the conditions in society that they don't want to raise kids in and seeing like, oh, this sucks, I can't get by, and all the fucking morons are just pumping out kids because they don't give a shit, and then in 500 years, look where we get.
Yeah. That's a very good point.
I like to see intelligent people having kids and raising them in positive ways. It's funny, a lot of my, and it's mostly artsy fucking, really classically, not classically, but TV liberals, you know what I mean? I hear so much open discussion, and these are friends of mine, But I hear so many people openly, it's irresponsible to have a kid right now. And that's like a common thing people will just say. It's
Yeah.
And they'll say it like,
how can you bring another person in this world?
Yeah, just blah. It's like, but then and my one friend in particular, then we'll say all that stuff, and then the next day we went to his cousin's house to meet her new baby that he was all fucking happy about. I'm just like, dude, you don't, these people just are not consistent. Then you should be telling your cousin that she's a fucking asshole for doing this, and you should just be standing there in the corner just glaring at the kid. It's like, and every time
how dare you?
Yeah, and every time the kid makes a sound, you just sigh real dramatically and walk out of the room.
Yeah.
If you do that, then I'll believe you that you really think the world is overpopulated and this is such a, no one should be having kids. And what is that? No one having kids?
Then what happens?
Yeah. And then they realize they should start again, and then there's this awkward gap of 35 years where no one, there's no one of any of those ages.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we need that shit.
No, I think we can rule that right out.
But so I guess my point though is that when I see that, I get suspicious, and so you say, yeah, on an individual level, I want the choice, and great, I think that's totally fine. But if there's an overall coercion and kind of psyop going on from the media and government that's trying to sell the idea that abortion is trendy and convenient, not something that, what I mean, not even addressing abortions that people have for totally legitimate reasons, but selling the idea that it's like socially acceptable and responsible. You know what I mean by that? If there's if there's some people from the shadows that are trying to influence society to have more abortions, I want to know that too, and I don't think that's right.
Yeah, I do agree with that, and also,
or to influence people not to get pregnant in the first place when maybe they've been sold that concept, and otherwise they might think, hey, I can have a family, I'll figure it out,
Right. I could also point out that I have never personally been to a Planned Parenthood. I just kind of understand their value in a community. I have not had health insurance as an adult for any period of time worth mentioning. And I have somehow managed to get all of my shit taken care of without going to Planned Parenthood. So not that it would be the end of the world if
and plus
Planned Parenthood was
if they are up to no good, you shouldn't act as though 150 other smaller organizations wouldn't spring up to fill that, because this is a definite demand in society. People are gonna get abortions, and we've talked about if you just make it illegal, they're gonna do it in basements and alleys, and it's gonna be nuts. And I think that
it becomes 1,000 times more dangerous.
I think the data on that around the world proves that to be true, right?
Yes.
So but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you can't take it away,
Yeah. I mean, they could be a sinister force, but they currently are providing a service.
All right. But, I don't buy that it's each person's individual intellectual conclusion that, quite clearly it would be irresponsible for me to have a kid. I think it's selling people an answer that they like, which is because it's obviously very difficult to raise kids. So if you can, people would love to buy into no, I just shouldn't. It's better for the planet and better for everyone in society if I just stay 22 until I'm 50.
Yeah, but you know what?
What?
When someone says they don't want to have kids, society expects them to have a reason beyond I don't want to have kids.
We've
talked about this before,
too.
No,
but that's like saying society. I think some places in society, yeah, but a lot of places, no. Like in most big cities, I don't think you'd get any of that shit.
Yeah, but as a person who frequently tells people I don't want to have kids, I can't tell you how many times someone has asked me why. Whereas when someone says, "Oh yeah, I'd like to have kids someday," nobody ever says why.
Yeah, I'm sure they get asked why too. I don't know, dude. But I've also heard you talk about not wanting to have kids in a way that you sound, I don't know, you sound like overly emphatic about it, and like you're almost, I don't know, like you're almost doing an act. Like I've heard you talk about it on the show about how you hate kids, and you're like listing all these reasons and stuff. So maybe people are reacting to that because you.
No, I don't hate kids, and that's not how I talk to people in real life when they actually ask me if I have kids. But there's no polite way to just say no. People expect you to say, "Oh, maybe in a few years," or "I'm going to keep my options open," or "Not right now." You know, there is a very strange social stigma that comes with making up your mind about not having children.
Yeah.
I don't hate children. I don't mind being around them. I just don't want to have any of my own.
Yeah, okay. I guess. I think you're letting the rest of us down.
I just think it's really irresponsible to bring children into the world.
Yeah, I mean, clearly we're overpopulated.
I mean, do you know how many children in Asia need to be adopted?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you really that selfish?
If you want a kid, why don't you just adopt one of the thousands of them that are waiting? By the way, is that true? Because
it's super easy to adopt children.
That's what it's like. All I've heard about adoption is how fucking difficult it is, and how much they screen people, and blah blah blah, and how a lot of people aren't able to do it when they want to and shit. Like, how fucking easy is it, really?
Yeah, not as easy as having one of your own.
Yeah, you own that motherfucker.
Yeah. Whatever you want with it.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. Let's go into that more next week on the Planned Parenthood thing and see if that's purely a right-wing creation, you know, because I know mostly I have heard that stuff from, I think, religious people.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, there are a lot of things in the Planned Parenthood argument from the religious angle that I would agree with, but I like find myself resisting because they're making their points for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Okay. What is this thing about the ancient Chinese teeth?
Apparently, they have found some teeth that challenge the idea of how humans migrated around the world.
Okay. Why?
Why did they find them?
No, how does it challenge that?
Let's see.
By the way, these teeth are fucking gross. They're all yellow and
they're really
chipped
old.
up and shit, cavities and everything.
According to these a new study on these fossils that they found, it puts Homo sapiens leaving Africa at least 20,000 years earlier than previously thought.
Aha!
Look at that.
So basically, they can identify that they're Homo sapien teeth, and they dated where they found the teeth, whatever, and so that's how they came up with that.
Yeah, they discovered a set of 47 fossilized human teeth embedded in the floor of a limestone cave.
Nice.
Where they also found the remains of hyenas, extinct giant pandas, and dozens of other animal species, but no stone tools. So what they think happened was that these animals dragged them into the cave and ate them and left their bones and their teeth there to become fossilized.
Nice.
So they were hunted.
People were hunted?
Yeah.
So that puts them back in the whatever that period was called. When
yeah, way back when.
The Neanderthals. So the study's authors reported that they discovered 47 teeth. What else is on this? Oh, you already read
They
this part,
determined
right?
that the stalagmites in the cave were about 80,000 years old, which meant anything underneath was older, and they found the teeth underneath the stalagmites.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So they were over 80,000 years old.
That seems like pretty reliable dating, actually.
Yeah, it does. They could be as many as 120,000 years old.
Yeah, you know, and I don't think that's a new theory that Homo sapiens have been around a little longer than they think. Lloyd Pye talks about how we coexisted with Neanderthals for thousands of years, and this would definitely support that theory.
They say that Homo sapiens have probably been in existence in Africa around 200,000 years. But up until recently, it's been pretty widely accepted that they started migrating 60,000 years ago.
Oh,
But
wow.
this would put them probably closer to 100,000
Got
years
you.
ago.
Okay.
Starting their migration. So that's a pretty big gap. What were they doing for 40,000 years?
Just chilling.
Chilling.
Learning about the stars. Hanging out with aliens. The dating of the teeth suggests that they were present in southern China 30,000 to 70,000 years before they appeared in Europe. Nice. I always knew we were more advanced.
Yeah, we're smarter than everyone gave us credit for.
Yeah. That's this shit keeps happening, and that's a big part of the show is identifying these different ways that are just science really fucking has no clue what they're talking about. And this stuff usually gets filed away in alternative history. It's not our history. It doesn't fit.
Yeah, we already wrote our history.
Yeah, it's
New
alternative.
information can't change that.
God, they really have a hard time letting go of stuff.
Yeah.
They really do. And then the Sphinx thing is another discrepancy in dating, right?
Yes. Yeah, big time. A new paper by scientists Manichev Vlashkislav and Alexander G. Parkhomenko says that the Sphinx could be up to 800,000 years old.
And these are real scientists that say this?
Yeah, let's see.
I know
the
I've... Sorry, go ahead.
Institute of Environmental Geochemistry of the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine.
Okay, sounds good enough to me.
Yeah.
I've definitely read things that dispute the mainstream Egyptologists, dating and stuff that say, hey, there's evidence of like sediment from these things that we know happened at these periods and blah blah blah, and evidence that it's like 10, 11,000 years old, but I've never heard 800,000.
Yeah, they're basing it majorly in part due to, wow, that sentence got away from me, water damage on some of the walls of the Sphinx's torso area. Let's see, the important role of water from large water bodies which partially flooded the monument with formation of wave-cut hollows on its vertical walls. So they're saying, based on marks on its walls, that it had to have been submerged in water at some point. And then they went backwards and figured out when the last time it was submerged in water.
This is not as reliable as dating.
No.
It could be crazy. So according to Manichev and Parkhomenko, the problem of dating the Great Egyptian Sphinx construction is still valid despite of the long-term history of its research. Geological approach in connection to the other scientific natural methods permits itself to answer the question about relative age of the Sphinx. The conductive visual investigation of the Sphinx allowed the conclusion about the important role of water from large water bodies which partially flooded the monument. Blah, 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 blah. Do you understand that, what I just said?
Yes.
All right, I didn't. I was just reading and not really thinking about what I was reading. So they say the morphology of these formations... did you already read that part? It's formed by...
No.
Morphology of these formations has an analogy with similar such hollows formed by the sea and the coastal zones. Genetic resemblance of the compared erosion forms and the geological structure and petrographic composition of sedimentary rock complexes lead to a conclusion that the decisive factor of the destruction of the historic monument is the wave energy rather than sand abrasion in Aeolian process. Okay, so they're saying from their studies, this looks a lot more like it was eroded by waves than it was sand, like
Right.
in desert conditions. Interesting.
Right.
800,000 years, when then that would mean... Let's see. Anything else you want to say on that, Andrea?
No, I don't think so. That's pretty scary if it's that old.
Why would that scare you?
How will they ever know? Huh?
Why would that scare you? It does
Well,
look. It does look like. when you just look at it, I can see why people get into this, because it's just like, it doesn't have a look of like an eroded structure like you usually see. Like, it has a look of like a canyon wall where there used to be a river,
Yes. Yeah, I could see that for sure. It
You know what
almost
I mean?
looks like polished almost.
It almost looks like a thing upon first glance that I would go like, oh, that's that's just something that coincidentally kind of looks like somebody made it. Like, it's not even man-made. Yeah, interesting. I don't know.
Very strange.
We should find out more about these guys.
Yeah.
Manichev and Parkhomenko. And they acknowledge that it places the Sphinx in an era where there was no humans, according to currently accepted evolutionary patterns. Furthermore, it has been demonstrated 2 megalithic temples located adjacent to the Great Sphinx were built by the same stone, which means that the new dating of the Sphinx drags these monuments with the Sphinx back 800,000 years. In other words, this means that ancient civilizations inhabited our planet much longer than mainstream scientists are willing to accept. Yeah, again, not a new theory, but pretty interesting.
Yeah, and some pretty decent physical evidence too, if it can be corroborated by someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
If a second person can go out there and say, yes, I agree, that's exactly what this looks like, and here are the reasons why, then we've got something worth talking about.
Yeah, but it's like every time we find this stuff, it just seems to go nowhere.
Right.
It's like, we find this story, and it seems to have like a pretty amazing, it's some amazing scientific discovery or whatever. And then it's just, like I said, it just kind of gets kicked in the alternative history file, and mainstream science continues on as it has. For this many millennia. Yeah, and we've talked, of course, 100 times about how many times science has had to turn itself on its head and say, oh, well, we were wrong, while before that they were like hanging people for fucking saying that, for disputing their theories and stuff. So why would we think our era is much different? Of course, a lot of things are going to be wrong about what and mainstream Egyptology especially. Fucking retards.
Yeah, which we've talked about a couple times on the show too.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get out of here.
All right.
Tub Geometry taking us out at the end of the show here. Andrea, I'll see you later.
See you later.
We'll do something good this Thursday.
Yeah, I'm in.
All right. Goodbye.
All right, bye.